of life and death takes front stage. Let's liven things up, shall we? Come, the party's this way.
Welcome back, folks, to SMITE Summer Masters. If you saw that graphic right there, you'll know that Baron's Brew from Advanced GG is now available. You can grab the Baron's Bundle to get both the Baron's Brew Ice Shaker and the Baron's Brew Energy flavor at a 20% discount. Or, if you just want the flavor jar, use the code SMITE30 for a 30% discount. That's only active until Monday. Make sure that you pick up Advanced GG's Baron's Brew and Baron's Bundle. That's still going on. Action here at SMITE Masters. Just had a fantastic SPL matchup. The first quarterfinal Kings get knocked out early. I'm not sure we necessarily expected that to happen. The reigning world champions out of SMITE Masters early on here, but we are still on the SCC Games bracket. Can throw up and the rosters here just to see what is going on, and I think the big matchup that we're going to be watching, Wargs versus Valks, to determine our one more elimination matchup. This is the final SCC match that's going to be an elimination. You've got the Valkyries, the last remaining team from NA, Wowy, Gamma, ErupTCrimson, Sanford Soccer, and Aquarius, and the Wargs on the other side. They got knocked down by the Mambo later on yesterday. Davey, Predss, GunTTeRR, Rapio, and Cxnnahh going to be fighting to get back against the Mambo for our last set of the day. You've got Frog, you've got Trelly. This is going to be a good matchup for our last elim match for the SEC.
Hopefully so. I mean, there's been a lot of rumblings about EU supremacy here in the SEC bracket of this tournament. They've been playing arguably pretty well, I would say, considering everything that's been going down, and the Wargs have been no stranger to that. The Valks, I enjoyed watching throughout the regular season, but let's be honest, some of their picks were a little eclectic, right? They weren't going towards the normal meta. I think Sanford Soccer in particular was playing just whatever he wanted in the jungle. Now you get to this tournament, might have been a rude awakening. Hey, maybe we need to stick more towards the meta, things like that.
Well, you can take a look at the bracket here. This is going to be, like I said, our last elimination match. Whoever loses this match, Wargs versus Valkyries, they're going to be headed home, and then there will be a seeding match later today between the Mambo and whoever wins this match to determine who goes up against those bottom two SPL teams, who enters in to that larger bracket for our Masters matchup. But both of these teams, they've gotten a chance to show what they're capable of this weekend, and I think especially the Wargs have been one to watch. You mentioned the EU supremacy. Yep. I think Twitter has been mentioning that. Hazer's stream has been mentioning that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there's good reason for it. Rapio, especially on this team, and their solo jungle combo, Rapio and Cxnnahh, have been completely running the game at times and have led to a lot of this team's success.
I tend to agree. I think Rapio and Cxnnahh in particular have been having fantastic performances. I've really liked what I've seen from GunTTeRR as well. It's been some clean play, and not only that, just late game transitions, which I think are huge in the current meta. How much you can do in the early and how much that matters, you know, swapping into like 20-30 minute fights. And it just seems like, you know, God pools aside, being able to play these top meta picks or just playing God you're comfortable on have been something that the Wargs lean on pretty heavily, and I've been loving to watch it. The Cxnnahh, King Arthur combo, for example, not everyone has been leaning towards a pick like that, but when Cxnnahh plays it, I'm all on board, right? I'm like, okay, I get it. I see why he likes having this much pressure in the solo lane, things like that. But you're right to highlight it. The Wargs have been looking clean, and in a matchup like this, you'd think they'd be feeling pretty confident.
Yeah. I mean, especially both of these teams have really gotten a chance to see the other play. I think three times at least now for all these teams to get to see their opponents play and what they're sort of valuing in terms of the meta, how they're taking on this 10.6 meta. But this jungle solo combo can come through, and the rest of the team. And I think I even misspoke in a graphic earlier today, and I think it was yesterday, and I was discounting GunTTeRR, and I was like, how dare I discount GunTTeRR?
How dare you?
He's been deathless, I think, in almost every game that they've played so far. So they certainly have the powerhouse behind them, and I think have a lot of power to potentially push this game to be back in the bracket, back in the SPL, or back facing the SPL rather, later today. On the other side, though, we've got the Valkyries, right? And I think you mentioned it, the Valkyries have been spicing things up as it comes to the NA,
flavor.
SCC, adding a little flavor to it. Sanford Soccer definitely putting on a show on some of those more fun jungle picks, but they've come out and definitely taken a more, I don't want to say serious approach to the game, but this 10.6 tried to adapt it a little bit, and I think especially yesterday, that 3-game set that the Valkyries were able to pull through on and ultimately, you know, push themselves to this set today, Sanford Soccer has really been showing up for this team.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. It hasn't been, you know, we don't know that the Valks team are capable of this. We've seen them perform at very high level. It's just been, you know, new patch, maybe just some growing pains, that sort of thing. So excited to see what they're able to do.
Well, we actually have the junglers for both these squads, Sanford Soccer and Rapio, standing by with JMac for an interview.
Yeah, that's right. I've got the junglers for both of our final qualifying matchup teams in our final elimination. Guys, I'm going to start this one off easy. You guys are both third seeds coming into this event from your respective regions. Now both fighting for the final qualifier spot to join up with Hex Mambo. What have been kind of your initial thoughts up into this run? How you kind of feeling going into this final matchup? We'll start with you, Sam.
I mean, I think we feel pretty confident. I think, like, obviously we don't have the best start because we lost, like, the first set straight out and had to go through the full, like, losers bracket. But, yeah, I think we kind of slowly been getting, like, our feet under us and feeling pretty confident for the matchup.
Yeah. And how about for you over here, Rapio?
Yeah, same thing. We came in as third seed, but we believe we were first seed. Thought we got quite unlucky in the split. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back to the finals.
Yeah, and then kind of give me both of your thoughts a little bit on the jungle meta, because we've been seeing a little bit of different stuff kind of pop its way through, some new picks kind of spicing in, a little bit of Erlong Shen going through. What are your kind of takes right now on the jungle meta for your two teams?
We like to play quite hyper carry in jungle, really. But, you know, I'm flexible. I can do whatever. So whatever the meta comes, I'm happy to do it. So.
And Sam, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the meta is pretty flexible. You see people go, like, some tankier builds, some full damage carry builds. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I think I like to go for the more carry style, but, you know, can swap it up if we need.
Yeah, it's a very important match. Remember, elimination on the line for both of your teams out here. One final question. I'll open up the floor for both of you. You have any final words for your opponents on the opposite side?
Good luck.
Good luck over there. What about you?
Likewise.
Likewise over there. Thank you so much for coming out for the pregame interview, you guys. Best of luck in your sets. Elimination on the line. We'll go back to the desk.
Thank you so much, JMac, and you heard it there from the junglers. Just good vibes.
Respect.
Respect, wishing good luck to either side. They had some interesting thoughts in the jungle, but I think JMac asked that question, and both of them, like, make sure I don't say too much and reveal our strategies.
It did seem like they were like, hey, we don't want to reveal too much about what we want to play. Yeah, we could play carry, but I could play tanks too, just so you know, in case you wanted to ban out some of those carries. I can play whatever. I'll play Poseidon, you know, it does not matter. And in this case, I think they tend to be right, though. The jungle meta does seem like, as long as you're able to get either A, early pressure for your team, or just great setup, late game, like hard carry potential, all of that is what you're looking for. And if you have any bit of one of those aspects, you can still pilot it in the jungle. I've been really looking forward to seeing the switch up of some of these different like meta picks, and I think the Valks in particular have brought that for me, not just sticking to, you know, what everyone else is playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular in that our only 3-game set of the weekend to end the day yesterday, we got to see the Valks take that, I think it was 50 and then 40 and then 55 minutes in that game number 3. So certainly erring towards a little bit of that slower EU meta, but that also shows the capability of them to just hold on to a game that long and fight down. They lost Enhanced Fire Giant 2 different times in that last game, and they were still able to hold on and fight back ultimately. And they've also had, you know, unique takes on the meta in their own right. I think ErupTCrimson, you see him here in the clip, triple kill. He's the only one that's been playing Giannis this weekend, and he's been bringing to the table relatively successfully.
Yeah, luckily we were able to talk to him in the interview, and he's just like, I've been playing Giannis forever. You know, it's just one of those picks I feel confident on, so I'm going to go to it. And those are the style of picks I like. Not because they're good, not because they're, you know, hey, they get this early pressure, they do this, they do that. Like, I know I'm good at this pick, and I'm picking it because of that. My team is confident in me to perform, and I'm going to say, hey, you know, if you're feeling an Anubis game, for example, you grab the Anubis because that's what you think you can control the map on, right? So if you're just feeling confident on a certain pick, I've got no problem as long as it, you know, is proven, and if you don't keep going back to it if it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as they continue to have success, and that goes for all the picks on both sides here.
Yep.
Rapio, I think, is in a similar boat. He's the only one that's been pulling out this Camazotz and has continued to find success on that unique pick. But we are good for picks and bans for game number 1 here, and this will start off, I think, an interesting, once again, our last NA versus EU matchup potentially for the week. If the Valks succeed here, they'll play a Mambo later in the day. We'll still hold on to that NA versus EU rivalry, but I'm sure the Wargs want to get back there as well, and we may continue to see the metas sort of diversify, or at least, you know, find a crossroads here between this NA and EU matchup. But as these first bans come out, I think not super surprised to see maybe some more targeted bans at this phase of the weekend towards these teams. Gamma, I think, immediately sticks out on mind, and ErupTCrimson on the Giannis, we just talked about it, they're taking away their picks.
Right, you've been able to watch so many games from both of these teams at this point, sitting back and just saying, hey, we've seen what works, we've seen what you look a little bit shaky on, we want to take away those comfort picks. For me, Baba Yaga, one of those for sure, that I think a lot of the EU mid laners in particular have been leaning towards, so GunTTeRR not going to be able to pilot that one over here in second pick. But a lot of those high-level supports, like the Yamoja, for example, something that a lot of these teams have been looking towards, even the Terra, not something that gets first pick too often, but it is a nice counter engage because of the fact that, you know, Baron has been sneaking his way back in whenever this Yamoja gets grabbed. I wouldn't be surprised if the Valks aren't immediately jumping at that opportunity just to grab it. Maybe just going for the safe Hachiman, and that is what they decide to lock in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the Emoja and the Terra as well. We could see these front lines get focused out in the top half of the draft, but no surprise to see these teams go back and focus what has been working. And Hachiman and picks like Rama as well have really been up there for the entirety of the Hunter category. After I think we started the weekend with a little bit more diversity. We've seen Anhur, we've seen Haim, we've seen Ishtar as well, but Hachiman is one of those that just continues to pop back up.
Yep, Hachi just, the buffs to him made sure that he is not only one of the best auto attack trading hunters in the game currently, he's also extremely safe. So you get that banner, you back up, you have the mounted archery if you want to get out of dodge. But two picks that have been on the rise for sure are the Discordia in the mid lane, great CC, that passive is going to benefit whoever on your team has the most damage, and of course Raven, been flexing between jungle and solo, but for the Wargs in particular, I would assume Rapio wants to take that one into the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, we did just see this played, I would say, at a pretty good success on that Dragons team. Gets banned out there in the second game, but now gets picked up, and the Valkyries, I think, smart to go back to what was working for them yesterday. They grabbed that Thor, Sam for Soccer, and that's a notable pick for him over the years that he's been in the SPL and now in the SEC. So he goes back to that, and then ErupTCrimson on this Thoth. Had some fantastic final judgments yesterday in that Game 3. A big part of what brought them that victory.
Yep, I think the Thoth, if you can protect it and make sure that he's got, you know, free casting ability, is a fantastic pick. The only issue is he's not very survivable, doesn't come with too much self-peel. Picks like the Raven, for example, can make his life miserable. So the Valks are going to need to look towards some sort of peel in the back for their two tanks that they're looking towards, assuming that Thor, of course, doesn't go over towards Aquarius in the solo lane. When I've got Sam for Soccer on my team, I'm probably handing him that Thor. So frontline needs to make sure they can, you know, keep ErupTCrimson alive on this Thoth pick. There's the Terra that we were thinking about, does come through in the third, so plenty of CC, plenty of sustain. Gonna need some anti-heal for sure on the side of the Valks.
Now with this top three for both squads, obviously I think leaning a little bit in towards their comfort picks here for sure, especially these mid laners, these junglers to start things off. But just in terms of strength, how are you prioritizing, how you as a team choose to prioritize your top three gods? Who were you calling stronger here after the top three?
Looking at the top three, just because I already see Terra, right? I already see an ease of engage. I already see sustain. I'm leaning more towards the Wargs, but there could be some incredible peel coming through for the Valks, and then I could lean their way as well. They have plenty of range, right? Hachiman with those ranged auto attacks, and of course Thoth using that first ability, the Hieroglyphic Assault. He can extend from such a distance. Poke could be the name of the game here for the Valkyries, but it's just so easy to see an ease of execute, right, for Raven to say, hey, I'm blinking on a Thoth, he's going to dash away, and now I've Mystic Rushed on top of him. He has no way to go. As the team goes through a little bit more, I might be inclined to lean towards the Valks.
Yeah, interesting as the second fan phase comes through here. They do take away some support. Surprising that they don't take away the Emoja for my money. So they are just going to be comfortable with Gamma choosing to go back to that if he does. But the Valkyries take away some carries as well. Xbalanque and Fenrir off the board will not be available. Maybe that Fenrir, I'm not sure they're convinced that this Ravana is going to end up in the jungle for Rapio. Still, of course, some flex potential on that pick, as we saw it in the solo lane a little bit earlier. But now, the Wargs with the fourth pick here on their team, I am leaning towards something like a Hunter. I think they might want to hold on to that flex potential, but certainly still a lot of picks left on the table.
Yeah, definitely safer just to grab an ADC there, but it looks like they're not going to. They will grab the Cxnnahh, revealing that the Robin probably does go over towards that solo lane. So they are just going to have plenty of dive once again. Robin assassin dive, Cxnnahh assassin dive, all of that could be an issue here for Thoth. And as we've seen, the Robin builds aren't looking like too much damage, right? It's a lot of, hey, let's get some mitigations. Let's get like Glad Shield as our one pseudo damage item and just be as tanky as possible. I've been harping on it a while now. Let's see what the Valks do decide to go in Gamma's hands. You mentioned the Yemoja. I still think that could be prominent, but considering how Gamma has played so far this tournament, he wants to get his hands dirty, right? He wants to get aggressive. The Blink Kabrakan was something he was looking towards. Atlas does fill that role pretty well. You've got a little bit more safety. You could blink in if you want to, but you also have that ranged pull that helps not only pull people in, but also take people away. Maybe a Cxnnahh, for example, that doesn't have beads and is diving your Thoth. You just pick him up and say, hey, get away from him.
Right, I mean, we just saw the Atlas played to great success. Definitely has, I think, that sort of prowess on the map that Gamma is looking for. He wants to be able to walk into the enemy jungle and say, hey, look at me, I'm big, I've got damage. But I'm focused on this last pick for the Wargs. This Ola run is something new that's popped up this weekend. We've obviously seen it in SPL eras of the past, competitive metas of the past, and it's even now been started to be banned out this weekend by some of the SPL teams. What makes this pick so valuable? What brings it back into the meta?
I mean, it still does seem to be that ultimate. It's not like it gets immense lane pressure early on. It doesn't have a fantastic matchup into Hachi. You just, double down and try and clear from a distance, which is what pretty much every ADC does anyways. But it's being able to group up with Sanctified Field, right? That ultimate can change a team fight. Let's say Aqua blinks in, jumps with that cage, and doesn't bring a beads to the party. He's just essentially stuck in place, slow motion, and could be burned through. On the other side, if Aquarius gets ahead and he's got so much tank stats, the cage could be disastrous for this Ola run. It all really depends on where the pressure lies and who's, driving the early game in this case. So I would say the Valks do have the potential to snowball, right? They've got this Odin cage, they've got the Thorold, they've got the Thoth who can just pepper damage from a distance. But if it does get to late game, it's going to be difficult to stop the Robin, the Cxnnahh, and of course, Ola on ult could just change a team fight. It is one ultimate alone. If you don't have relics, you could just be gone. So I'm excited to see how this one goes, particularly the early jungle pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular, you've looked at consistently these EU teams will look more towards the late game, naturally, right? And these NA teams will look more towards the early game.
Yep.
That's very stereotypical. It's not something that we've necessarily seen every single game, though. We saw 55-minute games, 2 NA teams. Just yesterday, we've seen Wargs versus Mambo had a couple of short games as well. So
yep.
I don't think it's guaranteed that either of these teams are looking to force the agenda by a certain point in time. You're looking at the early jungle matchup. Is it really on the Valkyries? Like, if we get to a mid game and things are early, have the Valkyries lost sort of the lead here?
I don't think they've lost. They certainly have covered their bases, right? They've got Hachi and Thoth who are only going to get better. Thor, in my mind, could be just a delete key, as we've seen Sanford Soccer do in the past if he gives enough itemization towards that build. So if that's the case, he's got the ability to just fall around Cxnnahh and say, hey, I'm forcing you into beats. There's nothing you can do about it. If I hit you with this ultimate, you get 100 to 0'd, and maybe the Wargs have to play passively just because of that fact. But if, let's just say, we get to 20 minutes and it's 0-0, I don't think the Valks have lost the game. They still have avenue to fight back.
Well, we will definitely have to see how the junglers utilize their pressure in the map. We'll see how they have to sort of force the game right here. But, I mean, I'm interested, and we don't have to wait much longer. We will get a chance to throw it into game number 1 with JMac and AJ.
That's right, it's JMac, Alpha Jackal, and Doug here for game number 1. Elimination on the line for the Valkyries and the Wargs. Our final, potentially, unless North America wins this one, our final NA and EU bout. But this one for elimination. So I guess we can say our final NA vs EU elimination match, at least of the SMITE Masters event. As we jump in, the number 3 seeds from their respective regions out here. Valkyries from North America.
Oh, wow.
Niflheim Wargs from Europe. And a very close one here, nearly a 60-40. Still in favor of the Valkyries, maybe a bit of recency bias after the
burner of a set that we had last night, a full 3 games between the Valkyries and the Sages. Meanwhile, for the Wargs, it's been a fairly clean run for them up until their stumble up against Hex Mambo just yesterday, AJ.
Yeah, but there's no shame in stumbling against Hex Mambo when,
sure.
when they're in that sort of mood, when Johnny is just playing whatever he wants. There is no shame in losing 2-0 to them. And they have their chance at revenge later on, but as you mentioned, they do have to get through the Valhalla Valkyries first. And that's easier said than done when Sam Vasocca's on a pick like Thor.
Yeah, Thor has been one of Sam's go-to picks over the course of his career whenever he needs to find those big wins out there. And for the Niflheim Wargs, trying to get another chance to fight back against Hex Mambo for that qualifier spot. Remember, the loser of this game, eliminated from the tournament. They're done. SMITE Masters over for them. Winner goes up for a seeding match with Hex Mambo later on today to see which of the SPL teams that they'll get to face off for a chance to then play into the quarterfinals a little bit later on as well. So very important matchups for both of these teams throughout the entirety of today to try and find those spots through. And seeing this solo Robin, we've been seeing a lot of the jungle Robin over the course of this weekend so far, AJ, but now twice today we've seen this solo Robin go through. And a big pickup by Gamma to start this fight. Gets the beats from Davey right away, but now it's Gamma who's falling low. Nice return fire from the Wargs duo.
It was a very, very late beat there from Davey. It was almost as he was getting thrown. That's when he decided to pop that relic just to avoid some damage at some point, but it was already being thrown, so a bit of a wasted relic there. Does turn on the style and does hit Gamma for a fair bit of his HP. But going back to this Raven, as you mentioned, we've seen a lot of it in jungle, has seen it solo earlier today as well in our first set of the day when we saw the SPL teams start to break out in this tournament. And we've also seen the Atlas start to be played by the SPL teams. It speaks to me like these SEC teams were maybe a little bit unsure, maybe a little bit under-practiced on these picks, but now that they've seen the SPL teams play it out, they're more confident in what they think is the meta now.
We see it really often. SEC will develop their own kind of a mini meta until the SPL gets a chance to play, and then we get to see kind of that adaptation from the SEC here from the SPL teams in. A lot of battle over in mid, a pullback on a Crimson falling low, but just gets out in time. The beads, again, a little late by Crimson, but able to make it back out. Even Sam taking a hefty bit of poke here. Both he and Crimson have to clear safely from a distance. But the Wargs are putting on some good pressure across the board.
Yeah, damage onto Aquarius early on as we panned over the solo lane. Sam Vasocca and Crimson also the brunt of quite a fair bit of poke. Almost first blood in that mid lane. In fact, Aqua's been forced to teleport early with that tier 2 silver breastplate. It's 3 minutes cooldown still on that teleport with the Chalice of Healing also bought to try and give himself some sustain up against this Raven. Nervy start potentially for the Valkyries, or the Wargs just feeling themselves and feeling confident, as you did here. They felt that they should have been the first seed from Europe, and that is some talking.
Yeah, wanting to claim first seed, well, you got to beat the team that's knocked them down now twice. Remember, regular season and here, Hex Mambo be on the better end. Niflheim Wargs want to remedy that here by getting a win up against the Valkyries. Kana stunned out. A couple more shots with the wall, just misplaced by Sam, waiting for those cooldowns to come through, but Rapio here to try and bail him out if possible, but Rapio's low in the middle of 2 healthy targets. Kana dove on, the spin is there, he gets a nice shield to stay alive, but a big stun and a follow-up auto. Aqua strikes first for North America.
And Valhalla Valkyries, they've remedied the start which they've had this game, and they've put themselves with first blood. Still found themselves about only 200 gold ahead. Niflheim Wargs finding the better of the farm so far, but a brilliant boon for them in this first game.
Yeah, getting off as best they can now for the Valkyries and putting that kill on the back of Aqua to try and get this Odin jump-started a little bit sooner. Typically when we think of Odins, we think late game they sort of become that ult bot, but early game where their big damage can really come through and try and be that facilitator over on the right-hand side, because you want to get those soul laners active early, and Aqua is one of the most active soul laners that we've seen so far this event.
Oh yeah, every single game he's been a part of. Level 12, teleport over to help with the fight the first beacon. About 18, teleport over to fight for the second beacon. About 24, 25 minutes in, teleport to fight over the third beacon. He's been there every single time. In fact, he's teleported around the map just to be the instigator for them to try and burn these objectives and try and go on these objectives. We saw that when they teleported over towards Gold Fury, but Predss still, babysitting over Davey on this left-hand side.
Gamma rooted out. A little more damage from Davey would have done it, but good body blocks by Wowy to absorb a couple of shots up against Gamma. That ultimate from Davey nearly perfect to lock him in. The extra CC from Predss to try and keep Gamma in place. But now Sam rotating over with Rapio. was trying to go for that extra little bit of backup gank to take down Gamma, but not quite there. Now Gamma's the one going active. Sam's nearby in the jungle, up in the sky, down on the ground. Davy's low. The double tap's there, but the Typhoon bails Davy just an extra moment before Wowy knocks him out and notches a second kill for his team.
And again, Sam4Soccer is here to help make sure the Valhalla Valkyries pick up that kill. Without Sam4Soccer there, I don't think they picked that up. I think Davy manages to get back to base. But again, just the space created by this Thor. This is exactly why they picked up this pick, and exactly why it's so revered for him and taken away from him consistently.
And this semi-global pressure is exactly what you want from level 5. As soon as you get that ult active, you want to see Sam moving across the map, and now he's done just that. Pressure in right lane gets a kill for Aqua. Pressure in left lane gets a kill for Wowy. Two of the players you definitely want to see some of those early first bloods go over towards. And the Valhalla Valkyries able to start this game off right. But the farm game from the Niflheim Wargs is what's been keeping them back in, even despite the first blood bounty and the second kill after. Niflheim Wargs still holding strong.
Yeah, and the experience difference isn't too far away from them either. In fact, you saw it dip there just at the last second we saw the graph. 285 experience that separates the two teams. So, for all intents and purposes, an even game. And if I'm on the Niflheim Wargs, that's exactly what I'm saying to my team. I'm saying, hey, yes, we're down 2 kills, but it's still an even game. We've still got the better farm. Let's just make sure we're warding up a bit better, make sure we're keeping an eye on the rotations from Sam specifically, and let's take it to the next 10-minute mark. Let's make sure we even until then. Then, when we're online a little bit more, we'll look for some team fights.
Now, I maybe want to get your thoughts here, because I don't really see much of a kill happening, even with the cage dropped by Aquarius. Unless Sam gets a fast ult over to this right side, Cxnnahh should be just fine. We'll be able to make it back to the tower. So I want to get your thoughts on this war flag starter. We saw a little bit during the regular season. We saw just a little bit over the course of this weekend, but not a very common support startup that we see.
Yeah, but it's all about this early game aggression and just trying to make sure you provide a bit more attack speed and movement speed towards your ADC. Oleron, notoriously an unsafe pick in that dual lane. He relies heavily on his ultimate, that Sanctified Field, in order to escape those ganks, in order to keep himself safe. And that's on 140-second cooldown at rank 1. Something ridiculous like that, one of the longest cooldowns in the game. So you really have to make sure that you are facilitating some safety for him as your support as much as possible. TTeRR can do that with just the abilities, but the War Flag on top of that gives just an extra bit of safety and an extra bit of push for them.
And then maybe how does a starter item like this transition as we go towards mid, late game? Once that level 15 hits, you get that upgrade. How does that kind of maybe change or dictate your playstyle in that support role?
I think it means that you are simply just going to be on that backline, peeling for as much as possible. You are staying as close to Davy as you can. You're trying to stay close to GunTTeRR as well, making sure that your backline is as safe as possible. You're allowing Rapio and Cxnnahh to do the damage on the front line, but Cxnnahh needs some help.
Oh, Sam is doing so much damage. Attempt to get away, but Aqua's got a cage one more time. Nowhere for Cxnnahh to go, and it's another kill for Aqua. Rapio late on the rotation, and the Valhalla Valkyries are swinging hard, swinging early. But now Crimson may be caught out of position, able to dash away, but he gets out of both CCs that Predss throws out.
And beads from Davy as well as we panned over to that left-hand side. Valhalla Valkyries not in control for the first minute and a half. Ever since then, it has been all the North American side coming out of the blue corner of your map. But still, they find themselves behind in gold. It's baffling for them at this point. They must be thinking, what more do we need to do? We've got these kills. We've denied them farm. Well, tell you what we need to do. Secure the neutral farm. Secure some invades if you can.
Gamma trying to find a pull on a GunTTeRR, but not finding it there. Now it's Sam rotating through. They know the dash is down from GunTTeRR. Slow him down and try and get some big poke. A double tap and some hi-rez. Shots are good. Sam finally on the board for all the effort he's put in. An ultimate from Predss to try and slow things down. But Rapio, where are you going, bud? You're in the middle of 4 of them. Nowhere for him to run except to the grayscale screen as Sam4Soccer teleports out the hammer, and Davy, late on the rotation, can only watch as his team crumbles.
I'm telling you right now, 59% of Twitch chat is going, yes, come on, let's go, my points are in the bag. 41% are thinking they've made a horrible life choice right now. 5-0 reads the scoreline as we enter the 9-minute mark. Still though, the gold is relatively even. It's the experience difference you need to start looking at right now. 1,500 experience in the lead. The first notable lead we've had over the entirety of the game. Most of that is in that jungle role. 2-level lead for Sam4Soccer over Rapio. We've talked in the past that Rapio likes to run these games early, likes to be this momentum-based jungler. We've not heard a word from him so far in this game.
Well, I mean, the last time that we saw Rapio try and make an impact was when that first blood happened on the right side of the map. Rapio rotates over, half HP to try and stop a full health Thor and a full health Odin stop him from running down his, 200 HP Robin at that point. All he can do is sit back and watch. Have not seen too much. A counter gank attempt over on the left side and a dunk back in by Sam on the right side. Cxnnah, do you have anywhere to go this time? As soon as he ults, it's a perfect cage from Aquarius once more. There is just nowhere for Cxnnah to go.
Yeah, I think we found the counter to Raven solo, and it's an Odin. It's also buying yourself a Soul Eater as your first item as the Raven, not offering any form of protection whatsoever. Make yourself a very squishy, delicious target for Sanford to come over and gank, because traditionally, ganking the solo laners, you couldn't do because they were so beefy and so difficult to take down. But if you built a power item to begin with, you're offering nothing in the extra protections. That extra shield, you're not really getting too much. Yes, it went up 6% in the patch, but that's on base health right now, which is almost nothing at level 10. It is a very free target here, and Cxnnah, I think, may have misstepped by going into this item first.
Davey picked up by Gamma. An attempt at least at the shield buff by the Valkyries, unable to take that one away, so the neutral farm going to Niflheim Wargs, and that's really what's been keeping them alive in this game. Is sure, we're sitting up 6-0 in kills for the Valkyries. XP looking real nice for Sam and Aqua comparatively, but the Wargs have been able to keep up that neutral farm game. Attempt to pick over towards Wowy, but he's going to dash away. Now Predss thrown into the tower, trembled through, but has CC to turn this back around. Gamma might just be going down. The Typhoon hits. One more auto. No, Gamma lives through yet again. Somehow, some way, the Valkyries keep living through thick or thin.
I saw him trapped with no dash in the sanctified field. I'm turning away thinking, okay, finally, they got a kill on the board. That is going to be a death on Gamma. I turn back around. He's still alive. He lives on the barest amount of health because Niflheim Wargs, they decide not to dive on the tower. That must have been them spotting on that ward, just between the back camps and the green buff, that Sanford was on his way over. That is the only reason I see them not diving tower there.
But you gotta get something somewhere.
Yeah.
You just keep letting these kills slip through your fingers every single time. The Valkyries coming up big for those kills, and Sam's still gonna keep some pressure. We're here on the left side of the map. The beacon spawning in just under 30 seconds. Imagine we'll start to see a rotation from both these squads over towards center, but Davey, without an ultimate, has only got beads. Beads isn't going to save you from all of this damage that the Valkyries have. A couple more autos from Wowy, puts him down. It is a killing spree for the Valkyries. Utter dominance across the board for kills on them. And now with the man advantage, they'll beeline straight to the beacon.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any contest coming out here for the Niflheim Wargs on this point. Sanford still has the Anvil of Dawn available to him. We'll almost have the Gamma Ray Burst coming out from Gamma. Well, we could make a rotation if he wanted to, and of course you have Crimson in that mid lane already. It looks like they're eating sense here, the Niflheim Wargs. They're going to give up the first beacon completely for free, and maybe regroup for the second one.
Oh. Gold Fury by the Valkyries. Predss is busy dealing with the shield buff, maybe not realizing that the whole team gathered around. Gamma drops the ultimate on top of the objective, and Predss just needs to find a way out of here because Sam's going to zone him out. Bit of an early pull through, but note from Crimson will guarantee the Fury for the Valkyries, and now we can see that extra little bump up in gold for the team. Their first significant lead of the game, just shy of 2,000 gold, but just over 2K experience.
Yeah, and 470 damage was the total done by the final judgment there by Crimson on the objective. That's on the objective thing. Is Sam a bit too far away here?
I think if they move a little further forward, he could find the double dunk. Just shy of Davey, does get the wall. Gamma goes in with the blink. Bead's not available for the Yola run, but he's got an ultimate. That'll slow things down. Surely you turn this back to Gamma. No, he's just out of range again. And despite the three-man gank by the Valkyries, they come up empty-handed, but the Wargs unable to turn it around themselves.
Yeah, he was a little bit too far away. We were right, but Davey, again, with no beads, no Aegis, he was a very tempting target for them, and they almost managed to pick him up. Still, though, no return kill for Niflheim Wargs here. They might get a tower instead, as everybody on this left-hand side had to back to base. Davey taking a bit too much damage there, I think, though.
Definitely going to head back to base. Let the minions go ahead and finish this tower through. We got to talk about Crimson, though, on this thought. Seeing what he's able to do so far this weekend. Believe in his first 3 games of yesterday went undying entirely through on the pick. Finally got some respect on his name towards the Giannis. Now 0-2 on the Thoth here in this game.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to just continue to rack up the player damage. He is sitting lowest on his team right now, but he's above 4 members of the Niflheim Wargs, occupying the bottom 4 spots. Everybody on the map apart from Cxnnah over on his right-hand side. He's a solo laner, though. His damage is fake numbers. It doesn't matter. So you're really looking at this as a Valhalla Valkyries running up to you, punching you, and the Niflheim Wargs are going, why are you punching me? They're not punching back. They're not fighting back at this point.
Cxnnah, you stepped too far forward. You got defense online now. A good overhead kick will get away from the second hit of that double tap. So blue buff invade attempt by Cxnnah, but unsuccessful in getting anything more. GunTTeRR throws out the ultimate to immune the pull by Gamma. And that's a big resource now down for the Wargs. Predss tries to close in the gap, finds the stun on Crimson in the route after, but Crimson is undeterred by it. He's sitting there eating up every bit of damage thrown at him and has not a care in the world. Rapio tries to go in for a pull as well, but doesn't come up with anything this time through. Now Cxnnah rotating through. Crimson, the first one to fall.
There we
for
go.
the Valkyries. The Wards are on the board, but Sam's in the back line with his teammate Aqua. GunTTeRR just outside the cage. Double tap off the mark. And with Wowy rotating in, it's not enough. Sam is going to fall. That's a double kill for Cxnnah, but one for Aqua. Gamma and Aqua still trying to keep things going in the back line. Rapio chased out just a couple hundred HP, but Aqua can't find the damage. The jump is not on target, and now Aqua's stuck under the tower.
That's
Cxnnah picks up a triple kill before he falls to Wowy, and Aqua with a killing spree of his own. Could be a massive shutdown if Predss or the Wargs can close the gap.
There could be 4 here for the Niflheim Wargs if they're able to get down to Aquarius, but no, he's going to be able to get out A-OK here. That shield should last him all the time that he needs to be able to get out, but triple kill there. Davey being pulled back on the tower by Gamma. That's not where you want to be, but brilliant play by Cxnnah so far.
Davey goes a little too far forward, sticks around at the tower by himself, and it's sayonara, says ErupTCrimson. Dies at the beginning of the fight, comes right back up for a revenge shot. 10-3 reads the kills for the Valhalla Valkyries, but a triple kill by Cxnnah, who started off that fight 0-3, now sits 3-4 at the closing end of it.
There's life in Niflheim Wargs just yet. That's what we wanted to see. Even if they lost 4 members in that fight, we still just needed to see them come back, needed to see them put up some form of fight. They did just that. They have just lost the Pyromancer, which means the lead has gone more in favor of the Valhalla Valkyries, as Rapio's the next target here for them.
Rapio just gets away. Crimson, though, falling low in damage, or I should say low in health at that point. Gamma just off the mark with the blink pull. A quick escape from Rapio spares his life from the damage of the mid-support combo of the Valhalla Valkyries. But all that lead, all that experience that was built up by the Valkyries in that jungle, in that soul lane, it's been minimized to essentially nothing at this point. Rapio and Cxnnah have completely caught back up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how the graph looks right now in terms of that experience difference. And there we go, right on cue, 3,000. And that gold experience, only 2,000 at this stage. At 17 minutes into the game, you'd argue 7 minutes into the game, that's a lead. 17 minutes into the game, that's kind of nothing. That is fightable into.
Yeah, so now, as we get set up for the next beacon, just under a minute before its respawn back onto the map, we see the Valkyries already grouping up. The Wargs are going to start up the Primal Fury instead. Vision inside the pit for the Valkyries. They know that this is happening. And the Wargs with a 5-stack over by the Fury, trying to see if they can get anybody to step out of position. All ults minus Crimson online, but should be up in just a few moments. The Wargs are trying to bait the Valkyries forward, but the Valkyries, wise to what's happening here, are not stepping too far out of line.
No, if they knew that this Primal Fury was under any form of threat whatsoever, they would go in a bit more aggressively. But thankfully they have the Oracle Vision to be able to know exactly what's going on without having to have a ward on the objective. Instead, just forcing the Niflheim Wargs back a little bit further underneath their Tier 1 tower, and this should open up this second Stygian beacon for free.
We could see a big breakout fight here around the beacon, though, as it's all 10 players on the map, now grouped up. Predss stepping forward, gets stunned out, hit, doesn't get picked up by Gamma, sets a lot turn by Davey, throws out the ultimate. Sam barely makes it up to the sky and has to dunk out fast. And now it's a man advantage for the Wargs, but a big ult from Crimson. Slams through 2, Davey is low, and Aquarius is trying to find a punish, but there's just no ultimates online for the Valkyries. They've expended everything just to get out of this fight, as the Wargs and Rapio with his ult can stand by and try and claim this beacon. Double pickup by Gamma, but it's not enough. The beacon goes to the Wargs.
That is very surprising that the Niflheim Wargs managed to contest up, but Aquarius, he's teleported in, he's full health, and he wants blood.
Goes for GunTTeRR, finds the stun under tower, but it's an Aegis for the Discordia, and off the mark by Gamma to pull anybody back through. The damage is there for the Valks, but not a single kill through, and not a beacon either. The Wargs get one. Can Cxnnah make this out through? He's a lot tankier now with some defense online, able to survive the onslaught of damage from the Valks.
Yeah, Valkyries are just looking a bit relentless here in this game, but Niflheim Wargs, resilience is the name of the game. They're standing up stronger and stronger each one of these fights, and almost able to take that one. They were very unlucky not to kill Sam before he got up into the air in that fight. If he does fall down there, that's a completely different engagement entirely, and probably will maybe even lead to the Primal Fury there for the Niflheim Wargs.
And that's exactly what the Wargs were starting up for before that beacon. See if they can find a pick on the Valkyries, see if they can get them to step forward, but the Valks having vision in that pit, they knew what was going on. The Wargs weren't really pulling the objective, that it was all a bait at that point. And sets up for a fight now around the beacon. A 1-1 split for our first 2 spawns of it, but now the Wargs once more in the pit, but vision again for the Valkyries. And it is at least Gamma the first one on the scene to try and stop this one.
For Niflheim Wargs, there's just one question on their mind. Where is Crimson? Where is that final judgment? Is he charging it? Those are the questions they need to ask themselves, because if they do attempt to take this Primal Fury, he can just steal it from under their noses from so far away where they don't even know where he might be. He could be in a different postcode entirely.
Sam, he's going to split push Tier 1 tower, divert the attention of the Wargs, but he's dragged Aqua over to this side of the map with him, and now the Wargs funneling in to the mid lane from that side of the jungle. What started as a Fury bait ended up being a Tier 1 tower now for the Valhalla Valkyries. But keep your eyes on Gamma, has that blink up, has been going for constant blink pull attempts on this Atlas. Gotten successful with a couple, come up a little short, a little empty hand in the last few.
Yeah, but it's not the end of the world if he comes up empty-handed on them. It's not like a Sobek where he's then in the middle of everybody with no escape. He still has his dash away, but Cage is out 2 people, and one of them is Davy.
But it's just the 2 tanks. Davy's going to stand his ground while Wowy's got to go up onto the horse. But Rapio, he finds the Typhoon while Crimson gets the damage to follow up the jungles. Make a huge impact in the fight. Davy's ultimate goes through, and the final judgment is just short of hitting through. Sam is distracting them in the backline, while Crimson is eviscerating them in the backline. It's ErupTCrimson with 2, Sam with 1, and Cxnnahh in the middle of them. Give a triple to the mid laner of the Valkyries. A breakout performance by him in this event is really strong and true for the Valkyries.
You can't give him Yanis, and looks like you can't give him Thoth either in this tournament. Crimson looking to be 2 of your bans in the next game for the Niflheim Wargs. Tier 2 tower falls down in mid. What a fight there from the Valhalla Valkyries after they lost Wowy to begin with.
Yeah, Wowy, first one for his team out in that fight, taken out by Rapio in their tower, but again, so many resources used to kill Wowy and not enough left for the team fight after, but I would have even thought the same for the Valkyries. They dropped Gamma's ult and Aqua's to try and take out Davy. Davy stands his ground, says, I'm not worried about what's going on over here. Fortunate for Davy and the rest of the Wargs, all the damage dealers were in the mid lane dealing with the rest of the Niflheim Wargs.
Yeah, there was almost 2 separate fights there. You had Aqua and Gamma just zoning out Predss and Davy. And then the rest of the fight was just the other 6 members in mid lane brawling it out with each other. And you're thinking, Davy's thinking, well, all of your damage dealers aren't here, so I'm not afraid. The issue is, all of the damage dealers are then dealing damage to Rapio and GunTTeRR, and they're one of the first 2 to fall in that fight after a huge dunk from Sanfasoccer finds 3 people.
Now, is this starting to get dangerous for the Wargs? I mean, all this game we've been pushing between 500 and maybe 2,000 gold, but this is our first big lead of the game for the Valkyries and looking to push it just a bit further with this Primal Fury. Predss is nearby. We've seen plenty of Terra steals in the past. Haven't seen any as of recent. Predss is now being pushed away by Crimson, not able to step foot inside the pit, and continues to extend that lead. Is this starting to get to a dangerous territory for the Wargs, being this far down 23 in?
I think it is looking dangerous. It's more so the experience difference which is looking rather dicey. That is going to start to wane though, as we do have a level 20 on Crimson, but a level 20 at 23 minutes is nothing to scoff at. We talk about level 20 at 20 minutes being an achievement. This is still something very impressive. Level 20 for Sanfasoccer as well, so that experience difference is going to start shrinking. But you're right, the gold at about 6,000. That looks like it's only going to continue growing at this point, and with nobody at finished builds, that's a pure 6,000 gold lead that we are speaking of. And if that gets closer to 7,000, 8,000, Niflheim Wargs' chances of winning fights are slim to none.
And you want to talk about a massive combo power spike picked up here for the Valkyries. Both Pendulum upgraded now for Crimson and a Soul Reaver to boot beyond there. So this next team fight, Crimson's going to be swinging that much harder than GunTTeRR, who hasn't been able to finish Soul Reaver yet and still doesn't have that upgraded starter because he's not at that level 20 point. Cxnnahh's been at least the subject of a lot of damage throughout the early game, has been trying to make some space for his team here in the late game. We'll see if he'll be able to survive the 3-man gank to the right side. This is all for a single Robin. Sam's going to go up to the sky to see if anybody else is tracking through. He spots Davy and Rapio. Will he go for the dunk to keep the fight? Or will it be the retreat call? It seems to be the answer, especially with the cage from Aquarius. But now Rapio wants to get active, pulls back in Gamma, but there's just no follow-up. It's just Davey here. GunTTeRR's a little too far away, and Rapio has the damage turned back to him. That Typhoon defensively to try and keep the Valkyries back.
Yeah, if Sam Fazolka continues his aggression, they could look for some kills here, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Crimson on this left-hand side as well, putting out some poke onto Connor, saying to the Terror to stay away from this. Predss actually has to back to base, and with that back from the support, that is the call for the Valhalla Valkyries to go in.
Even gets the beads from Davey there under the tower. Gamma, with his Blink Atlas, something we don't see a whole lot is not just Blink in the support role in general anymore. We typically see a lot more defensive style of Relic, but Blink on Atlas is something that isn't as common either, but Gamma's been making it work so well this game.
Yeah, just the threat of the Blink. I'm going to hold you in place for all of my Thoth damage. It's not like it's anybody other mid laner. It's Thoth who's going to be stood so far away from the Blink, and then it's even further away because he's then blinked away from him, but he still hits you because the Glyph just adds that massive amount of distance to his abilities. You cannot be stood there and taking all 3 shots of his Hieroglyphic Soul.
No, it just does so much damage at this stage. Third beacon spawn and third beacon dropped this time for the Valkyries, so 2 of the 3 stacks going their way. Blue buff secured by Sam, and now we'll have Titan spawning over on the right side of the map around this Fire Giant. How much of a fight will we see put up by both these teams once they spawn in? Solo laner Aqua sticking over to the left side to keep the push going over there, while Niflheim Wargs start to group themselves up around this mid. Still a few seconds before the Titans actually jump out of base and start to make their descent through on the lanes. The Wargs will take that time and drop a tier 1 tower for themselves.
There we go, and that is the Titans being unleashed right as well on the 26-minute mark exactly. Tier 2 under threat here, but look who's wrapping around the back. It's Aqua and it's Gamma.
Gamma trying to go through. Aqua, can he get a big cage? Wowy under fire. Dive in by Kana is good. He is out, and a Crimson is under fire as well. Rapio's taking out 1, while the backliners are taking so much damage just from the take. To dive in by Sam will eliminate GunTTRR. A double tap takes down Davey. 2 for the jungler of the Valkyries, looking to make it 3 with Predss falling down. Triple kill for Sam for soccer. The Valkyries punching back through, but Sam's not going to stop at just 3. Kana has been the target of damage all game, and Sam's going to keep it going, pushing for 4 as ErupTCrimson takes down Rapio, and the rest of the Valkyries knocking down Kana. That's 4 in a row for Sam. 5 total on the rampage.
They get Wowy, but at what cost, J-Mac?
Everything.
Absolutely everything. That could be Phoenix. I don't think that's going to be game necessarily, especially because Titans are still out of base, by the way, fighting on that right-hand side as we pan over to them right now, having their epic battle of proportions. We need Duel of Fates being playing over on that side of the map at some point, by the way. But mid-lane Phoenix is going to be taken down here for free.
Runic Bomb.
They're going to go away over towards the Fire Giant next. All 5 members strong. I don't see Niflheim Wargs being able to stop him there.
Now the Titans will continue their clash, it seems at least. The Chaos side Titan wins out in the 1v1 alongside the minions, but Wowy will make sure that Chaos Titan goes no further. Look at the massive minion wave that's standing alongside about.
That's an army.
2 to 3 waves worth for Wowy to get that golden XP. He should be able to easily clear level 20 with that one, take down the Titan, and get such a huge victory to the Valks. A full team wipe, lose nothing on the right side, only Wowy's life, and you get a Phoenix to boot at only 27 minutes.
And you're also going to get a free Pyromancer here, because Niflheim Wargs aren't in position to contest this. Even if they were, I don't think they have the capabilities of defending this objective. I mean, we're talking about a 9,000 gold lead here at the 28-minute mark. This is probably the most dire it has looked here for the Niflheim Wargs in game number 1. Don't forget, if they lose this game, they're on game, set, and match to be completely out of this tournament of Valhalla Valkyries, who started this tournament with a loss to Hex Mambo, would then find themselves up against Hex Mambo again for the seeding match for the main tournament.
It's an elimination game on the line for these 2 teams. The Valkyries are starting off strong here in game number 1 up against the Wargs. Kana walks up to try and get some poke, but instead it's all returned right back to him. Just does not have the damage to get in there and really put much threat. It's all Sam, these wall double taps. Even though it's only hitting for 10-15% of Pred's HP, he's not healing enough of that back.
Yeah, and that is because of the Divine Ruin, the Brawler's Beat Stick, the Pestilence. Everything is there to make sure they have the maximum of 80% healing reduction put onto this Terror, put onto anybody who wants to try and heal up from this poke. Connor goes in. Connor's forced to overhead kick away that grab from Gamma. And that's a good point because he was half health.
Aqua's fighting GunTTERR by himself in the backline.
That's a
GunTTERR's
cage.
already jumped away, and that's going to get the Phantom Shell out. Caught into the backline with Rapio. Crimson's gone, and that's a huge damage deal for this team, but Wowy's fighting right back, standing his ground, and he and Gamma teamed up with Sam, take down a second kill in the fight. Meanwhile, what's Aqua doing? He's still having a party in the backline. Nobody can stop this Odin.
No, and Aqua's looking like this every single time we've seen him so far when the Valhalla Valkyries have been doing well. I mean, they had, what, a 55-minute game yesterday, and towards the end of it, playing as the Achilles, Aqua was untouchable by a Kali of all picks. The chainsaw could not cut through Aquarius. So what hope do you have if your ADC, if your jungler are just dying on cooldown to this dunk coming out from San Francisco and expending everything that they have just to kill Wowy?
And that's the problem that the Wargs have been having these last few fights. They do everything they can to get to the back. You kill one person, you kill Wowy, you kill Crimson, that's good. Problem is the rest of the Valkyries are still standing strong. And now at a Fire Giant, wall by Sam to try and keep the Wargs out. Gamma's standing by as well. Blinks past to get GunTTERR, walks him right through the big damage, and now, even with an ultimate from Davey, that's not going to be enough to save the life of this Discordia. It's all Gamma. Sam dives onto 2, but trades out his life as Davey uses the beads defensively to stay alive. A 1-for-1 trade will force the Valkyries off of fire, and it may even cause more. Cxnnahh picked up, but he's fine. Crimson gets a big shot onto Predss in the backline, but now he's got to deal with Rapio, who's throwing out the Typhoon. It lands some big damage on top of him. The frontliners of the Wargs are closing in on the Crimson again. A dash out buys him some space, but he's just going to keep fighting till he goes down.
And Davey falls down to Gamma as well. He still has that Gamma Ray Burst online. Gamma down to 20% health, down to 10% if it gets pulled back in. Rapio finishes that one off. We were talking about it looking all doom and gloom for the Niflheim Wargs, but they come up big in this fight, getting a 3-for-2 trade.
Staying alive, keeping the Fire Giant from going down too, delaying this game and extending their lifeline just a little bit longer. It's only Wowy and Aqua left standing for the Valks for the next 10 seconds. Sam will be back up and an ultimate available to him as well. But the Niflheim Wargs and the Valkyries expend so much in that team fight. I mean, look at the relics for the Valkyries. It's a graveyard on this side. It's only an Aegis for Sam and relics for Aqua online.
But you can say the same thing about the Niflheim Wargs. There's a beads available for Rapio and a shell available for Predss. Blinks are coming with cooldown for Rapio and Connor now, so looking a little bit better. But it's still loads of utility expended from both sides in that fight. Just shows how close that fight actually was. And if you're a fan of the Niflheim Wargs, if you're past that 41% that voted for them, that bodes well for you. Considering when it's a completely even game, that should mean they're 7,000 gold more powerful. They should then win those fights.
And the Valkyries, even with this lead, and with items still ringing true, at least for them, an advantage. I mean, you're looking at a near full build for Wowy. Crimson's been full build at least for a while now, still waiting for GunTTERR to finish up that last item. The strength should be with the Valkyries, but the team fight's starting to fight back now for the Wargs.
Oh, wow.
Sam, look how much damage he's taking. That's just from Cxnnah at this point. That's their soul lane. That's the one who's got one damage item to his name. The Wargs take a Pyromancer and now continue the fight after, but it's just enough to repel the Valkyries and keep them from pushing into the Pyro.
That's Prana Onslaught with Sundering Axe just proccing there as well. That takes, what, 2/5 of his health down? 40% just gone like that. And he has to be very careful, because if he gets caught by that again and Rapio's just around the corner, that's an instant kill.
Cxnnah walking forward. Root hits Aqua, takes about 10% of his HP. But Cxnnah will back away with the rest of the Wargs. And now it's the Wargs in control of the Fire Giant pit. Just not even 4 minutes ago as the Valkyries stepping up, pulling the objective, forcing the Wargs forward. And now the shoe's on the other foot. Aqua's forced to jump away from the Wargs. This entire game, it's been Aqua W-keying into them. But now he's got to play a little bit more cautiously against the Wargs.
They finally found some way to deal with this Odin, and that's just pile absolutely everything that they need to kill this Odin on top of him, and just worry about the rest of the fight afterwards. Connor gonna get stunned up by the wall, gonna get pulled in there by Gamma's pull from long range, take a little bit of damage from Crimson as well, and he's still sitting at about 60% health. I don't think he minds too much. Aqua still has use of his teleport as well, so ran all the way back from base, has access to his cage as well to start off the fight. But grouping up in mid lane, very close together. That is dangerous to do against a Thor.
Full wrap around here by the Valkyries. Gamma blinks through, fights pick up on nobody this time
Four-man
through.
cage.
But it's a big cage for Aqua. Up in the sky is Sam, but one's already gone. It's a dive on top. 2 down from the Wargs, and Wowy finds a 3. Give a double to Sam as Predss, the last man standing for the Niflheim Wargs. The Valkyries may not even care about the fire. They get the knockout here. They can walk right up mid and end game number 1. North America starts off the set with a big game 1 win.
It looked so good for the Wargs there. They were 7,000 gold down. They fought back for a 3-for-2. They had control of the fire giant pit. Then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, 5 members dead in mid lane. And the reward for the Valhalla Valkyries is game number 1. Like you mentioned, revenge is on the cards here for North America as the last hope of NA takes down game number 1.
Game 1 in the best of 3 to the Valhalla Valkyries. But AJ, you put it perfectly. You're standing in as 5 men in a group in the middle of the lane. Not a great idea against the Thor. Not a great idea against an Odin. All it takes is Gamma and Aqua to blink to the backline. Cage traps 3. And the only person who made it out of that cage immediately gets dunked on by Sam after.
Yeah, I think it was actually a 4-man cage, and then it was just a dash out from GunTTeRR. They used a Phantom Shell as well. The only person that wasn't caught in the cage was Ravin. He goes into the backline, tries to deal with the Hatchman, tries to deal with the Thoth. But he can't deal with both of them by themselves. He needs Rapio there. He needs the extra damage coming out from the Susano to be able to deal with those backliners. He's trapped in the cage. He's all the way back, almost dying instantly to the dive from Aqua and from Gamma.
It's questionable positioning by the Niflheim Wargs at the end stage of the game. Just stick around the fire giant. They had the advantage in the pit. They had ward control. They had the damage output, but they just break away, try and group up mid, and it all ends there with one fell swoop of a team fight for the Valhalla Valkyries. They start out this set with a 1-0 lead. Elimination game now on the line for the Wargs. Can they tie this up and take us to 3, or is it all going to crumble here? Game number 2 of our set coming up after this break.
The Valhalla Valkyries take down game number 1, going up against the Wargs, and I am a fan of NA supremacy. I'm not biased at all, naturally. Never would be biased, but the last hope for NA certainly puts their stamp on game number 1, and I think it had a lot to do with the former MVP of World Championships, Sam for Soccer. Had quite a game on the Thor, and I'm not sure they let him have it again.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Thor did not get back through here. Again, this is the Valks team that we knew we could see, haven't seen too much of so far this tournament, but they finally showed up in the early game. I still have a bit of an issue with how long it took them to end, though. With the lead they did,
that's true.
I see no reason this game goes, upwards of 30+ minutes. Right? They had such a massive lead, and it did just take a bit. And I think that's because of Cxnnahh and Rapio consistently finding some decent picks to slow down the game. Some possible troll moments here from the Valks. I saw a few times where there was some aggressive plays. Sam for Soccer dove a little bit too hard into a tower. Crim dashes in aggressively. And you can do that when you're up 12-4, right? As long as you're able to close out the game when it matters. But as you'll see, this game just kept continuing longer and longer because of, just mild oversteps and, of course, good fights played here by the Wargs. But I tend to agree. If there is some things that are taken away, the Odin certainly could be. I think Aquarius was also having a fantastic game, and the majority of the Wargs comp really didn't mind the Odin cage. It was, unfortunately, iDavy was the headline of just a lot of the pressure here, and the game-winning fight where Sam for Soccer just goes absolutely massive in the backline with the help, of course, from Gamma and Aquarius. So if you're just, waiting for that one game-saving ultimate, of course, Sam's going to make it. But the Wargs were slowly inching back in, right? And you can't let leads like that close up. I want to see better late game, just definitive shot calls from the Valks here. But at the very end of the day, they had lots of kills, and it was some flashy gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, a huge engage at the end there, I think, really speaks volumes about the composition that the Valkyries were able to get themselves. And you would think if you're going to have a composition where you dump everything, you dump all your circles in one spot, you would really be valuing the sanctified field. But Davey 1-7 on that game from the last pick all around. I think, you pointed it out well. He just looked a little bit uncomfortable.
Unfortunately, Davey was the target, right? If you have an Odin Thor with Thoth outranging you, the Oleron is going to die more often. If they want the Oleron dead, he's going to die. So I don't have a problem with him dying. It's what do you do before you die, right? You drop the massive ultimate, you slow down the enemy team, and you hope you get enough damage off. Early game, that wasn't happening. Towards late game, he started to get a bit more value, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see the Olo again.
Well, we'll see how they adapt, jump right into picks and bans for game number 2. Valhalla Valkyries. They did win game number 1, so it was the Wargs that got a chance to choose which side they wanted to be on. And the Wargs choose second pick here on out, which is a little bit interesting for me, given how much, 1 or 2 picks have been really valued. But this is where they were the last time around, and they are going to see the same bands start to come out. Giannis once again taken off the board, Baba and Horus taken away from GunTTeRR and Davey respectively. But this time, they change things up early. They take away Crimson's Thoth in the bans. Yep,
Crimson was just doing way too much damage. The Thor as well. Not going to give that one back to Sam for Soccer. So it looks like the Wargs know what they don't want to deal with once again in game number 2. I thought even though, the loss came through, of course, and Cxnnahh was taking a lot of pressure in the early game, that Raven could have been something that the Valks didn't want to deal with. And they have the opportunity to grab it here as well, but Hachiman is still available, and that hasn't been a pick that Wowy has liked to go to. It is incredibly safe, despite the fact that I think both ADCs, unfortunately, got a lot of the presence that game. Wowy was consistently being dove by Rapio and Cxnnahh, and of course, Davey was getting dove by just about everyone. Both of these hunters are going to want to pick something that can get them out of trouble, something that keeps them safe, whether it be the Heimdall, the Hachiman, really anything that has some way of disengaging. Probably going to be pretty high up on the tier list here for the Valks and the Wargs.
Yeah, I mean, Wowy was able to turn around a couple of those dives. You saw him getting kills in just like the midst of fights. The Cxnnahh on the back end was getting traded out, and so I think no surprise there to see the Hachiman come through and find that success. I think a big part of the Valkyries draft last time around was this Odin as well that got picked so late in the draft, and I don't think you really have to ban away an Odin necessarily. You just have to try and pick picks that can get out of that cage, and I think the Wargs probably looking to be a little bit more cognizant of that.
Exactly. I don't see an Oleron coming back here. Davey just unfortunately did not have any way to deal with it, even with Phantom Shell, whatever. The Oleron was getting dove too hard. So that's why I think safety would be a priority. But the Wargs are going to make at least one switch up and go towards the tier, a pick that I have really enjoyed watching so far this tournament. We've seen how impactful a Lawbringer to the backline can do, especially with some of these new Pridwin glyphs. So putting this much presence towards Cxnnahh and towards tier, definitely warranted. We'll have to see what the Valks do to try and counteract that. Of course, the Odin does have a decent time into the tier, but as you said, picking leaps, picking gods that don't necessarily care too much about the Ring of Spears, probably on the mind of the Wargs, unless they just want to ban it away in the second wave of bans here before Aqua even gets the chance to try and lock it in.
I mean, Cxnnahh was one of the early ones we saw, I think, even on day one, really pulling out that tier. Tried the Ravana last game around, and I don't think it looked bad on it, but definitely a different look from what he had been pulling out in sort of the traditional tanks. But that is going to leave Ravana open for the other side, as well as this Achilles. We've seen Aquarius. He was the first one to pull out the Achilles this weekend, has looked really solid on it. Despite that, though, the pick rate's been pretty low for it. It's only been, I think, one showing from Rapio, and otherwise it's only been Aquarius going back to the soloing god.
That's interesting. So I think that, you know, considering these picks, both of which have the opportunity to role swap as well. If Robin wants to go to solo and Sanford Soccer wanted to take the Achilles into the jungle, that is certainly possible, but because we know it's Aquarius, we know that he does like playing that Achilles over in solo as well. Yemoja finally gets picked up in the top 3 for this game. Has been very highly contested considering just about every other matchup in this tournament so far, but has went by the wayside just a bit for this set in particular. Usually when the emoji gets picked up, Baron does come into the topic of conversation, and I know that Gamma can certainly pilot it if he so chooses, so we'll have to see if that's something that the Valks are looking to try and play in support. But considering how he played last game, considering all that aggression that Gamma likes to go for, he loves to blink in. He loves to just get his hands dirty, right? He wants to try and facilitate for his squad, so the Cabrakan taken away, something that can be aggressive. The Atlas was the call last time around, and I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, I think he looked really solid in the Atlas. They banned a couple of picks that he could do that on last time as well. The Maui and the Bacchus both taken away in game number 1, and looks like they'll choose to value the Maui once again, afraid of those landfalls. But you know, if I think I might just be going back to the Atlas. He looked perfectly comfortable on it. I think in my head I was like criticizing him for going blink on an Atlas. That doesn't really feel natural to me, but he made it work.
Yep.
And you know, he's getting there, getting in the front line was a big part of that protection shred that character can bring against the additional tankiness of these two players. But we do see the bans come out for the Valkyries as well, and they're targeting down Rapio, taking away this Fenrir and taking away this Camazotz this time around. Once again, a pick that Rapio has felt pretty comfortable on, and will be interesting to see where he goes on this jungle pick during the second half of this Picks and Mans.
And that's the thing, the Susanoo is still open, but doesn't seem to be that big of a threat, right? The Valhalla Valkyries said, hey, we don't care. Go ahead, go back to the Susanoo. Look at all the CC we have already between Hachi, Robin, and Achilles. Wowy was able to, you know, get away sometimes. When there's like the double dive, it became a bit of an issue, but up until that point, they got to stay safe. And so I'm curious if that is something he would like to go back to. Doesn't seem like the easiest pick to try and traverse so far with what the Valks have, but Rapio has been a confident jungler so far. And, you know, just because he had one rough game. Wow, I'm baffled. I mean, Davey, this is either A, the ego check of, all right, I had a rough game 1. I got so much presence towards to me. I'm going to make it work this time around. Or the team said, hey, we just need the Oleron, man. You got to make it work.
Well, this is also, it's really tough to go back into Odin unless you're going to give it to Gamma, right? Because this, I think Aquarius is going to take this Achilles. I think Sam is going to take this Ravana. So unless you want to have Odin's support, you're not necessarily going to be feeling as trapped in that team fight engage.
Literally
on
trapped.
The other run. Yeah, literally trapped. Outside of maybe your own Yemoja walls. Luckily, you can walk through those. But this is also going to force ErupTCrimson onto a new pick. No Giannis, no Thoth. He ends up going towards this Vulcan instead.
Man, I am very fond of the Vulcan pick, but in a matchup like this, you know, you're going to have a rough time into Yemoja, you're going to have a rough time into Oleron, and you're going to have a rough time into Tyr. Tyr does not care about the knockup in any form. He's just so immune and just about every one of his abilities. And of course, it's going to be all on the front line to try and peel for Crimson. That was the case last game, and you know what? The Thoth was able to free cast in a lot of those fights, so if he's going to have a similar performance, seems to be, hey, let's protect the Vulcan. Let's just make sure that he's able to get as much damage off as possible. Incredible burst, just like the Thoth in that case. So the Valkyries showing some confidence here with that last pick. And finally, the Wargs are going to show us Rapio's jungle. And it's the Bakasura, something that has been very highly contested, but this tournament has fallen by the wayside just a little bit.
Yeah, I think we saw him play this a little bit earlier on in the week. In fact, I think it was my cast and your cast that we were like complimenting him for going out of his comfort zone. Yep. Wild pick onto the Baka. And I think that game, he honestly, like, it looked not as comfortable as we thought it was going to look. But this composition and how it slots in, there is a lot of dump everything all at once. Olorun ult, Yemoja ult, Baka ult comes out. It goes together pretty well.
Right. I think that if they're able to make the River's Rebuke work, and then you just get the explosion of just all of their ultimates down at once, fantastic. But once those ults are down, I think a lot of these characters lose value. It's going to be on the Valks to try and survive the first just damage dump. If they can, their re-engage is sick. Vulcan doesn't necessarily need an ultimate to do damage, of course. Yemoja, she's got the Riptides, but that River's Rebuke is really what you're picking her for. Of course, Bakasura, without Regurgitate, I like to think of as a lane minion. He does not do enough damage to really value his pick there, so trying to fight around that ultimate is certainly something he needs to look towards. The Wargs are going for a little bit harder to execute on composition, but if the relics are down and they just find that golden opportunity to go in for a fight, they could just click 4 and win the fight.
Now, on the other side, you have this Valkyries draft, which is a little bit different from what they were looking at last time. You lose that semi-global pressure in the form of the Thor, and you lose out on that mid-pressure, that range that you were having on this Stoth. Do you think that draft comes together a little bit worse now that they don't have all of those engage tools, or does it maybe force them towards a different teamfight style?
It definitely forced them into a different teamfight style. They can't just hope that Sam hits this massive ultimate in the backline. I do think they are still just going to triple dive, right? That was the case last time, where I think Gamma was stuck between, should I peel for Crim or should I just go in? Towards that last fight, he said, I'm just blinking it. We are going in. Aqua, Sam, and Gamma are going to the backline, and hopefully they win out, and of course they did. This seems pretty similar to me. Vulcan and Hachiman have plenty of range. They're going to maybe just peel for themselves with damage, and then watch as Robin, Achilles, and Atlas go to the backline, full-on dive, and just hope they come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, if you've picked some characters that definitely have self-peel here. The Hachiman holding on to safety. The Vulcan has that movement speed inherently in the kit. They are holding on to that safety as well. I think, well, I mean, the Wargs trying to push us to 3. The Valhalla Valkyries trying to close it out in 2. We are ready for game number 2. We'll throw it over to the casters.
That's right. It's game number 2 in the best of 3. The Valkyries 1 game away from qualifying up into the second half of the bracket. The Niflheim Wargs have got to make a stand in here to win game 2 and game 3 if they want to meet with their EU counterparts in Hex Mambo to qualify up. Will it be a full EU sweep? Will it be a 1-1? It comes down to this game right here. It's J-Mac, Alpha Jackal, and Doug here to bring the action now for game number 2 of the Valks and the Wargs. And still sticking fairly close, but pushing a little bit more now for the Valkyries in favor from the audience, 68 to 32%. The fans think the Valkyries are taking this one home.
Yeah, and I think it would have been about 50-50 until one pick was picked. That's going to be the one that's just been highlighted. iDavy going back to this Olorun. Struggled is probably the best term I can use to describe how he performed last game. It was not good whatsoever, I feel, in terms of how it was impacted by the picks from the Valhalla Valkyries. It was really fully on focus in those fights to the point where he couldn't really do too much. Hopefully, for him and for everybody who's voted for the Niflheim Wargs, the 32% of you, this game he gets a little bit more breathing room in those fights.
We'll have the Wargs taking both the Yemoja and the Olorun there. 2 of the most impactful, potentially even game-changing ultimates in that River's Rebuke and that Sanctified Field. Throw them in combo with each other. Could be devastating if a Valkyries player gets caught up in the combo of that one from the duo of the Wargs. I'm expecting big things for the Wargs here in game number 2. They started off, remember last game, the first 1 to 2 minutes of the game was in complete control of the Wargs on every single lane. Then once about that level 4, level 5 started hitting, Sam starts rotating over to the side lanes. It all turned around. The Valkyries took complete control in game 1.
Yeah, and it looks like we might have a similar start here, at least the very first part of what you mentioned. I actually love what Predss is doing there. He's bouncing minions into the tower to force them to lose some gold there. That's a really smart play. I'm surprised we haven't seen that before.
Oh, Sam blinks into the pack line. GunTTERR low. A jump in by Rapio, but he just avoids being hit by the meatball. But Bede's now gone from GunTTERR early in the game, and that could be a nice call for Crimson or Sam to dive back in, maybe even make a call for an early rotation from Gamma. But over the course of this event, we've been seeing supports have stuck around to the left side of the map much longer than we're used to. Typically by that level 4, level 5 time, supports are out of dual lane, moving to mid and jungle. We've been seeing supports stay over on the left side of the map for almost level 8, even upwards towards level 9 now.
Yeah, just waiting probably until that first beacon is due to spawn in about a minute or two's time to make sure that they can tell our ADCs, hey, I've stayed with you for so long to make sure you're safe. Now you do something for me. You rotate over towards this first beacon, we secure it, and we're hunky-dory. We're then even on the trade. But then that means that mid lane is a little bit more exposed as the junglers do start to rotate towards the side lane, specifically solo lane, as we have seen in previous games. And Connor is under a lot of pressure here from Aquarius on this Achilles. This is not what you're used to seeing.
No, Aquarius on this Achilles has been a force to reckon with, and maybe a potential kill here in the mid, but Crimson doesn't have his combo ready. Meatball off the mark, drops the turret, and backfire just a little shy from connecting to GunTTERR. Could have been a potential first blood had the combo hit on top of the Discordia, but Crimson just off the mark here. GunTTERR able to live through. And kind of talking about Crimson and the respect he's been given this tournament. Gets a couple of really strong Giannis games throughout. Banned every single game from him. Gets now 2 really good Thoth games. Game 3 from yesterday. Game 1 today. Has earned a second ban over to this mid laner. So now seeing what he's got cooking in the back pocket. But Predss wants a kill of his own. Bubble is there, but he needs one more ability. Stun just off the mark. And Crimson lives with sub 100 HP.
I want to know exactly how much HP he had there. It must have been, what, 30, 40 health at most there from Crimson. If that was the center bubble that gets him, that is going to be a first blood death for Predss, but it's going to be a TKO. Has to go back to base to heal up fully. I think he was going to go back to base anyway at that point, so not too inconvenienced there is Crimson, but very inconvenienced right now is iDavy, as Gamma is putting the hurt on here. And he steals a minion away there from the camp as well, which means Wowy should be just a little bit further ahead.
He's actually just been letting these minions farm themselves over the lane. Hasn't even worried about last hits or anything, while Gamma's just been playing distraction, sets up for a potential kill. Stun does land on the Gamma, goes for the pickup, does find Davey, throws him towards Wowy, but Gamma's got to get out because he's stuck around a little too long. The orbs fly through. One more shot would do it, but Predss is off the mark. Rapio's going through. The orb misses from Davey. Gamma's trying to buy time, but Rapio hasn't spotted him. Now it's Sam here. A dive in, a 3v2, but it goes to the Niflheim Wargs, and maybe a second one. Sam's low. The orbs are good. Davey gets one, and Gamma tries to get the turnaround, but he can't. It's 3 for the EU squad.
And it's starting as you want to for the 32% of you that voted for the Niflheim Wargs, 3-0. And unlike when the Valhalla Valkyries were 3-0 up, they've got a commanding goal lead of a 1,500 in 4 minutes. They can start to blow this game wide open from the 4th minute mark if they wanted to.
Gamma's been so long trying to distract Dave. He takes so much damage that he can't even stick around for the fight that he had wanted to initially start up. But got to give props to Rapio on the fast rotation over to the left side of the map. Just beats out Sam for Soccer, able to find that first pick right as Sam is diving through. And it's all Niflheim Wargs at that point. The Valkyries are all running as fast as they can. Props to the Gamma for trying to go for that kill, but unfortunate for him, there was a Bakasura minion still in the tower to prevent the kill from going through.
Yeah, and he almost still gets it. I think it was Predss that got pulled under tower, just lives with, what, a slither of health again, similar to what Crimson survived with under that mid-tier 1. So unfortunate there for Gamma that he can't at least get one kill in return. But that's put a very nice spread of lead on this left-hand side of the map here for the Niflheim Wargs. I mean, Davey up a level, Predss up half a level, GunTTERR up a level as well. So that's balanced what you've seen over on this right-hand side of the map, where Aquarius does find himself with a half a level lead. And the Niflheim Wargs, with their superior farm so far, are looking to continue.
Sam and Crimson want to kill on the GunTTERR. The ultimate connects from Crimson. Sam just needs one more auto and will find it. It puts the Valhalla Valkyries on the board. GunTTERR nowhere to go as he was surrounded by 2 Valk members.
Yeah, Sam was just going to chase him down to the ends of the earth if he decides to run away. And if he does, Crimson's ultimate will just hit for a lot harder. And now Sam, wanting some retribution over on this left-hand side, wants to invade. Successful invade over a kick away. And then Gamma with the peel from long distance.
Gamma making sure to bail Sam for Soccer out. Though ultimate's still up for Sam, so had a way to peel himself out, but Rivers will not catch out Wowy. Davey standing by, does have an ultimate of his own as well if he needs to use it. Will throw it out there just to block off Sam. Rapio trying to chase down Wowy. Wowy just bounced on the horse early. Rapio diving into the tower. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade as Sam takes his life down. A killing spree for Rapio, but immediately shut down, and a big bounty to Sam.
I don't think that's actually worth it for Rapio there. He dies when he's got 3 kills to his name. We can see the spike down when he gets the kill and the big spike back up when he loses that bounty on himself. So definitely more worthwhile for Sam4Soccer there to get the kill onto Rapio than it is Rapio to get onto Wowy. And now he's found himself half a level behind on Sam4Soccer. And there's a thing you don't want to do on Bakasura, it's get behind, because as Trolli mentioned on the desk, you start to feel like a large minion in these teamfights.
But at least in the early game, can keep starting out strong. It all depends on how Rapio now bounces back after that kill ends up going to the Valkyries' jungler, Sam. Now on a resurgence of his own, 2 kills after his death on the left-hand side of the map. Valkyrie's starting to group up a little bit, at least around the Gold
Run,
Fury,
Davey,
but
run.
Sam and Gamma are here. Davy's got no ult, used the beads early, and the pickup from Gamma is there. Throws him right back to the Wolves. And the Wowy and Sam4Soccer will team up to put a killing spree on the jungler of the Valkyries this time.
You have to know as an Oleron that you are going to be targeted no matter what. Yes, you have a good spread of defensive wards across the line, but you don't have a dash. You're not going to be able to get back to your tower in time if you're up further than halfway. You need to be playing a bit more defensive than that, or put your wards further into the jungle if you are going to be playing this Oleron pick as aggressively as you want to be playing it, as iDavy wants to. Beads expended, still falls down, ultimate still not available from cooldown just yet, and Connor forced to go back into his tower with his ultimate. The side lane's starting to fall apart here for the Wargs.
That's some respect from Connor, recognizing that Aqua's damage could have nearly put him down into execute threshold, so Connor not going to take that risk. Lawbringer's back to the tower, keeps himself alive, and will force a reset for the tier. Plenty of sustain, at least in the kit for tier, so can heal himself back up. The safety under the tower, in the jungle with help from Rapio to be able to clear out blue, but everything that the Wargs had started out this game with, that 1,500 gold, still standing. Small lead for them at this point, but Valkyrie's doing their best to try and mitigate that one through. Purple buff invade once more. Last time it was only 2, now it's 3 members there. Another successful steal for the Valkyries, but Sam gets caught out inside the rivers, but has ultimate to jump himself right away. Even with a 4-man collapse by the Wargs, it's not enough to stop the Valks.
Yeah, but at the very least, with the fact that they had to force the Mystic Rush, that should be a counter invade there. And Rapio comes to clean that one up. So blue buff, purple buff for purple buff, sorry, over on that left-hand side. Crimson just farming up in mid lane, going to get rid of one of the Bastions and should get rid of the second one here as well. Or he's put it down to very low health. Note, the turret does pick that one up, so 2 Bastions taken out in the mid lane as well. Full value to take down that tower once they put some pressure in mid lane.
Still a small lead in the duo lane, though, for the Wargs, even despite the turnaround fight that Sam has had across the board. Gamma and Wowy both down about a half level to a level against their opposition, but it has been the side lanes putting up a big fight for the Valkyries, and really the junglers trying to impact this game through. Now, as this game goes on, talk about if Rapio falls behind, doesn't feel as impactful on the Bakasura. Is it kind of that same tune for Sam? If he starts falling behind on the Raven, does it feel as bad as something like a Bakasura, or do you still think there's some value in the Raven, even if he is starting to fall a little bit further back?
There'll still be a little more value that you'll get out of the Raven than the Bakasura, simply because you have more confirmable CC that helps the rest of your team. Yes, the Cripple Field from Rapio is good, as they set up an ambush here over onto the Gold Fury, or, at the very least, looking likely to take it. No, just going to back off and spread to the rest of the parts on the map. But you have the root from the 10-hand Shadow Fist from Sam4Soccer. That is good. You have the slow coming out from the Prana Onslaught as well. Versus Rapio just having a Cripple Field and a slight slow. So I'm thinking you would get more value from Sam4Soccer if he was behind. But to the same tune, you do not want to fall behind as Raven, because then your dive just sucks.
We'll have to see. We see these junglers prevail here in game number 2 as this game continues forward. Rapio again to the left side of the map. So much emphasis put on the duo lane for both of these teams. Sam and Rapio have been spending so much time on the left side trying to keep Davy down, trying to keep Wowy out. And maybe right to do so. Davy on this Oleron, massively impactful ultimate if you leave him alone for too long. Gets these items online. Wowy, standard hunter, but has really stepped up in this event in particular. GunTTERR, those notes of Sam4Soccer. He'll overhead kick, get rid of the second half of the damage through, and Kana finds a solo kill under Aqua's tower? What?
Every single time we panned over to the solo lane, Connor's been low health, being bullied by Aqua. How did that happen?
What?
Aqua dies in a solo kill when he's been running this lane consistently. We're going to have to talk about that later as Wowy taking all the damage here.
Oh, now stuck in the rivers. We'll be able to loop around, get some backup from Gamma, dunked back down in place for Sam, and the rivers have already collapsed through. The ultimate from Davy's not enough to spare them, and with a rotation from Crimson, Predss could be the next one on the chopping block. GunTTeRR doesn't have ult. He used it earlier, but he's got big damage against Wowy. The bubbles are not enough to take him down. Wowy dashes away, and ult from Crimson connects to the backline. Aqua's rotated over and has found one himself. It's 3 down on the Niflheim Wargs, and the Valkyries will charge to the Fury, but you gotta watch out because Cxnnahh has rotated over as well, and he can make a big swing in the fight.
I think they spotted Cxnnahh just about. I think there was on the tail end of some vision, so they know he's here. Crimson's beads have been forced. Is that going to be enough for him to survive? Because look what Cxnnah's doing. He's doing all the damage. One more hit should do it. Please, Cxnnahh, find it, and he does. Crimson falls down.
Aqua can't save him there. Just no mana left for Crimson. No abilities available to him to try and go and defend himself there. And as the beacon gets started up by the Valkyries, we can maybe try and take a look at that solo kill just from earlier on while these beacons go through. It's still a battle under tier 1. Aqua's at half HP, but he steps out at that point through. Cxnnahh finds a nice and easy combo under the tower. Doesn't even use the Lawbringer yet to go for it. Actually doesn't need it at all. He just solos him out because he didn't have it at that point through. So great pickup by Cxnnahh. Double strike by GunTTeRR. Hits the ultimate on top of Gamma. Pulls it away, but GunTTeRR still has the damage. The Wargs have swung the game wide open for themselves.
And it's all off the back of that solo kill that we saw just there from Cxnnahh. He started to come in and in and in on these fights. He started to show value. He started to show presence. And that's exactly what we want to see from this tier pick. It's what we see from Cxnnahh week in, week out in the SCC, is him just showing that he is one of the best solo lane prospects in the SCC.
Now the Gold Fury for the Niflheim Wargs. Not a single member of the Valkyries willing to step up and face the might of the Wargs as they take their first objective of the game. Valkyries will go for a response of the Pyromancer, as we do see time and time again as the trade out. You lose one, you go for the other. So at least a little bit of gold and a runic bomb in pocket now for the Valkyries, but the Niflheim Wargs complete control of this early game.
I wouldn't say complete control. The Valhalla Valkyries are still the ones that I feel are pulling the strings and dictating where the fights are taking place, but the response from the Wargs is what I'd say has been the most impressive thing so far. The very first fight was brought about because the Valhalla Valkyries pushed aggressively into the jungle and tried to zone out Davy. They lost 3 kills there. And in the Niflheim Wargs, they've been good on their response on every single fight since.
Gotta talk about Gamma for a moment here. We talk about, a war flag that was picked up by Predss in game number 1, but I gotta again kind of point to the build here for Gamma. Not traditional from what we've seen out of supports. Went for Stone of Binding into an erosion immediately after. This is a very uncommon and not a super tanky start.
No, and I think that showed when he was basically killed for free underneath that tier 1 tower that it wasn't a very tanky start. But it's all about control. It's all about making sure that whoever he picks up is taking as much damage as possible. And then if Predss does try to shield them, that shield isn't as effective. And in fact, movement speed will be granted to him so he can just throw them even further away. I like the idea from this build, but Crimson does not like the idea of being dove here.
Ults himself under the tower, just take a couple of ults, but GunTTRR's got plenty of damage from range to get a notch another one for the Niflheim Wargs. 2-2-1 on the Discordia. Crimson has not looked comfortable on this Vulcan for the majority of this game, and maybe even Gamma not feeling comfy under tower. Rotation in from Cxnnahh will force a dash back. Fighting in the surge. Sam and Aquarius are here. Davy to the backline. He's still got ultimate if he needs it. Hasn't had to drop it yet, but will now do so. Sam on the run, able to overhead kick out. But Riptide pulls him right back in. GunTTeRR on a killing spree, and the Niflheim Wargs on a complete tear in game 2.
That is much better from Davy so far in this game that we saw from the last game. I mean, that Sanctified Field ruined the time for the Valhalla Valkyries. They went in with Aquarius and Sam. The second the Sanctified Field drops, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I need to get out of here, otherwise I am doomed. And Sam, he still dies anyway, thanks to a beautiful Riptide from Predss.
Predss on this Umoja. We've been seeing so many Umoja bans throughout this weekend. Then felt like teams kind of just ignored the fact that this goddess existed for a couple of sets. Now we see it brought back here in game 2 of this second one. Gotta imagine a lot of respect thrown back, and we'll probably be seeing a few more bans of this one. Should this one go to game 3, I personally do not want to see. Well, for the excitement factor. I'd love to see Predss back on the pick. But if you're a fan of the Valkyries and you want to see them win, probably not giving this one back over to him.
No, and Aquarius is...
Oh, no Aqua.
Oh, is he going to die here? I think he might do, but he's very fast here. Able to get away from Rapio on the back of Sora. Just one more shot should do it.
Big
But no,
stun.
that stun is huge. I mean, Connor? Does he get this
Still goes in, needs a chance, has the dash. Kana
Okay.
on a killing spree. He's got plenty of damage on the tiers. Got that Mana Core Spike, has the Glad Shield, a lot of extra proc style damage, and it's just enough to keep the Wargs in control.
Wait, I thought it was wishful thinking from Connor when he ults there in the tower, but what do I know? He's the solo lane genius here, not me.
He's done all the calculations in his head, and he says, yep, all I need is 5 more HP off this guy, and it's a guaranteed kill for me. Kana dives under tower, takes tier 1, both tier 1 in right and mid. Now off the map for the Valkyries, and Niflheim Wargs waiting for that next objective to spawn. Primal Fury on the left, Pyromancer on the right. Plenty of options up for the EU team.
Yeah, but for how good it feels for them right now, it's still only a 3,000 gold lead, and most of that most likely will be because of Connor. I mean, Connor's 2 levels up right now up against Aquarius and still feels like the most impactful person on the map. The second that gap is closed, the second that they do find a response here to Connor's tier, if they do manage to find a pick onto him, that 3,000 gold lead, now expending about, well, 5,000 gold lead actually, beg your pardon, for the Niflheim Wargs, transitions down to about 2,000. But they're wanting to extend it here with this Primal Fury, and with 0 Valhalla Valkyrie wards around, I think they're going to take this for free.
Kana and GunTTeRR here to try and stop the Pyromancer. Primal on the left side, surely free for the Niflheim Wargs. And the Wargs has to keep the Pyro from going down. Aqua eats the golden apple while Kana continues his push forward. Niflheim Wargs get not just 1, but maybe 2 objectives if there's a fast enough rotation. For now, we'll give up the Pyro, so it'll just be Primal Fury for the European squad.
Up to 6,000 gold in the lead now. It was just a couple minutes ago when it was only about 3,000, 4,000, so really starting to put their foot on the gas here are the Niflheim Wargs, and they need to. Because this is the point in the game where you do see a lot of European teams do this. They go up a gear, and they start to play even more aggressively, and Crimson, feeling the force of that, already forced to use his beats.
Pyromancer started up, pulled around.
Look at
Gambit
Rapio.
goes to the back line. Doesn't find the pull he wants. An ultimate from Crimson doesn't do any damage as Davey drops his own ultimate. And look at Kana the back line with Rapio. They're teaming up. Gamma's got nowhere to go. And a dive in now on top of Wowy. Forced onto the horse. Has to charge himself out, but Davey is low. Aqua wants to get to this back line if he can. And Sam is going to do just that. He and Aqua team up to take down 1 as Kana goes for the teleport to get himself somewhere in this fight as a disengage. But now the golden apple hits just Crimson, drags it away, but a Riptide might just keep him back in this fight. GunTTeRR just off the mark with a Strife. The Wargs only come up with a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and it's a big one that they managed to pick up there, the Valhalla Valkyries. They managed to get Davey down once again. I think they would prefer if they killed Rapio or even Connor at this point rather than the ADC, but it's still a huge DPS loss on these objectives that they managed to take him out. And they only lose Gamma for it. That's a worthwhile trade.
But you do get Pyro now for the Warg, so both Primal from earlier and Pyro staggers the cooldowns of those 2 objectives as well. We'll play a little bit longer before they come back up between, so no longer able to take the 1-1 trade. And our second beacon spawn, the supports stand both their grounds. The bar's not going to move anywhere with them both standing by. But Gamma might just give this one up.
He succeeded.
Capping the point for now. We'll get that second beacon spawn for the Niflheim Wargs. And with a lead like this one, is only going to get more and more dangerous for the Valhalla Valkyries, nearly pushing up 6,000 at this point for Niflheim Wargs. It has been a tremendous climb the last few minutes.
When the Titans unleash, is there a particular lane that you like for them to go down? Is there like a preference that you have?
Run it down mid, baby. I want to see those Titans slam mid.
Just like an Assault game.
Oh yeah, just like Assault. This basically turns into Assault right here. It's almost the perfect width of the lane for it and everything. You get your little side jungle of the beacon camp. It actually just does feel like an Assault lane right now.
Yeah, honestly, you know what? That should be the thing for the next patch that we've done. Like, the next big patch is just turn the mid lane into Assault for about 2 minutes. Whoever wins that gets a boost of a mini fire giant buff.
Who knows? We'll have to see how things go through. Got to sing about the praises, though, of Predss. 008 on this emoji, an absolute menace with this style of pick. And when we saw the picks and bans go through, and he gets not just the emoji, but Davey also going back again to this Ola run. And name a better combo than the Euruban Pantheon and game-breaking, game-changing 140-second ultimates. And the Niflheim Wargs, there's no answer from the Valkyries. No, Connor might go for the wraparound. He spots out 3. He blinks over just for Crimson. He knows the bees are still down on the Vulcan. Goes over the top of the ult, but just missed out on the damage. Still wants to push, and he's there with Rapio. Crimson as good as dead. Can Sam and Wowy turn this around and at least pick up 1? Sam has a lot of shield to his name. The Fire Giant is reset by the Wargs, but it's picked right back up.
Yeah, but it's down, what, about 20, 30% of his health. Blink helps from Gamma. That is a brilliant blink to stay away from those River's Rebuke. Sam Fasoka spread out as well as Wowy. This is a very spread out Valhalla Valkyries roster right now. They need to start grouping up, but maybe the split is playing to their potential and playing to their advantage because the Niflheim Wargs, they're unsure, they're unclear about who they want to go on here.
The Wargs split on their decision. Do you go for the fire? Do you go for the fight? You got the 1 pick on Crimson, but he's back up in 8. The Fire Giant started again. This is a slow burn from the Wargs. The Valkyries have an opportunity to get this one in, to try and take it away. Gamma's got ultimate. Crimson's back up. Wowy is here too. The damage on the Predss is massive. The Niflheim Wargs get the fire, but will they get the fight after? The Sanctified Field locks in 3. Sam is gone. Wowy and Gamma charging out as fast as they can, but Rapio and Cxnnahh not giving up the chase entirely until they see that Crimson is waiting around the corner to bail the team out. Fire Giant +1, and maybe now a tier 2 tower for the Wargs.
The fact that they're rivaling objectives in an elimination game speaks to just how desperate the times are here for the Niflheim Wargs, but they get the objective, they get the reward that they so desperately deserve for the way they've been playing this game, and they've opened up that gold lead to just shy of 10,000, experience difference 13,500, but with a few level 20s just creeping up here. In fact, 3 of them, almost 4 on the Niflheim Wargs. It is just purely that gold lead we need to be speaking about.
But it is 3 for the solo, 3 for the jungle, 2 for the mid. Once these starter items get picked up, massive power spikes to 3 players of the Wargs. And let's go ahead and add a Fury to the mix there for Niflheim Wargs. So it's Fire Giant, kill, tier 2 tower, and a gold Fury. The Niflheim Wargs continue to climb up in their lead over the Valhalla Valkyries and are so desperately clinging on to their chance to take this to game number 3 in this elimination set. One final best of 3 for one of these 2 teams and a seeding match on the line with the Hex Mambo to jump up into the upper bracket with the SPL squads.
Yeah, and it's so far, it looks like it might be going the distance to that 3rd and final game where winner will take all. But for the Valhalla Valkyries, you have to hope that this is almost a repeat of what we saw in set number 4 yesterday, where the team that's been in the lead struggles to siege on these Phoenixes. That was a little bit of a theme that we saw and something that needed to be cleaned up by the Valkyries, and they have done so. Did he use the bomb already?
Must have used it for Fire Giant, potentially, to try and secure that one through. Could have used it for tier 2 tower even as well, so.
I think he just used the bomb on the Pyromancer when he was dying.
So, could be. Trade a Runic Bomb for a Runic Bomb. Get your value back. Valhalla Valkyries, though, going to take away tier 1 tower on the right-hand side while the Wargs push up on left. Tier 2 gone. That's just Gamma to defend. The Valkyries have got to get back fast, but the Rivers don't catch out Gamma. Instead, it's Cxnnahh trying to start the show himself. Blinks to the back, finds Gamma. Golden Apple on top. It's not enough damage, but the Lawbringer is. But a big ultimate for the Vulcan, just shy of hitting anyone from the Valkyries. And now the Wargs continue their push in mid. Rapio takes the Phoenix down to half, while the Wargs continue their push on left.
Aquarius feeling the brunt of this damage down to half health. Cxnnahh, full health, full mana, thanks to a teleport in. I've got a second life and I'm using it well. Down to half health with the Phoenix, and as Aqua tries to push in, he actually manages to help repel the Niflheim Wargs here.
Still 15 seconds without Gamma. Ultimate down for Crimson. The Warriors are taking their time. They've got ult from Davy if they want to use it to try and push in here. Cxnnahh goes through. Rapio to the back line. Drops shield on Aqua. He doesn't even get a chance to dash out. It's a left side Phoenix for the Wargs and going to be a mid. Thanks to the efforts of Rapio early, it's still down to half and now down to 0. The Wargs commanding the mid game. And now the Valkyries only with 1 Phoenix and 1 tower left standing.
The fact that they have that tower standing tells me this positioning is for one thing and one thing only. The end call. They want to go in with 27 seconds left on Aquarius. They recognize that now is one of the best times that they have.
Rapio's keeping sights on Sam. They don't want this Robin to jump in. Ultimate still up for Davy. Could use it. for this final siege. Gamma to the back line to try and help out. The Volcano completely off the mark, and Gamma completely out of the fight. Rapio will chase him down. A couple more in-hands will do so, but Rapio may just die to the Phoenix. No, the E-Minion keeps him alive. Just enough HP. The Wargs keep it an uneven fight, but they're too low. They have no resources left, and they've got to back away.
Took them a bit too long to go in there, a bit too low damage on the Titan, so they have to back off, unfortunately, there for the Niflheim Wargs. But they could go and claim this final Stygian Beacon and unleash the Titans. Actually, I don't think they actually want to unleash the Titan here, because they've got access to go into the base and kill that Titan. If they let it be unleashed and go up the waves, it might be out of the base by the time they can end.
Well, it will push up the only side of the map that has anything left for the Valhalla Valkyries. Remember, its highest total structure health is the lane that the Titan will push down, considering there's still one tower and a Phoenix still sitting up there for the Wargs. It's all but guaranteed now to go to the right-hand side. But you're right to say the Wargs have now essentially extended this game by at least another minute or so, because you got to wait for the Titan to spawn, you got to wait to walk up, push and knock theirs down to go back in. We could be seeing a Titan march up into the throne room of the Valkyries, so the Valks have got to put up a defense on this right side, or the Warg could just ignore everything entirely, maybe go for a Fire Giant or see if they can find a pick.
They want to look for the pick here, and Aquarius and Crimson could have ran into the death trap that is kind of hiding around the corner, but now it's going to be the Fire Giant pull here, and that thing is being burnt here. Valkyrie's nowhere in response. That's the freest Fire Giant I've seen in a while.
By the way, 27-minute elixir of power for Rapio.
Oh.
As he pops that and the Fire Giant goes down. That should give you a nice little look as to just how far ahead the jungler is for the Niflheim Wargs. Full build, elixir, pushing down Titan. This order, Titan stands no chance against the 5 strong of the Wargs. They might even be able to end the game before their Titan shows up to the party. Still a tier 2 tower to knock down. The Valkyries are on full defense on the right side.
Yeah, the Titan's making its way down. You know, it's taking its time. It's walking fast. It's homebound.
Faces pass.
Yeah.
It's homebound. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, we don't want to get DMC'd. Hold on, we gotta stop there. We're getting a little too close.
Okay.
Niflheim Wargs pushing up right Phoenix now. Cxnnahh and Rapio gonna try and go for the wraparound. Gamma's separating himself from the team. He's by himself. He's dove into the back against 3.
Hello?
And now some follow-up return damage. Gamma, you've gone way too far forward. GunTTeRR, they've got too much. Cxnnahh to the back, finds another one. Rapio's got a kill onto Wowy. The Titan surges forward. Aquarius does his best to bail the team out, but it's only Sam with an ultimate. He wasn't even part of this last fight. And with the Titan marching down, all 5 on the Niflheim Wargs, it's a 3 versus 6 defense. But maybe with the health bars a bit too low, the Wargs not willing to step forward, especially with how healthy the members are through. The Titan moves in, the Wargs jump on, Rapio on top of 2, GunTTeRR dishing out the damage, and the Titan falls down. The Niflheim Wargs take it to 3.
And this is exactly what you expected from them. In a do-or-die situation, they come up trumps and they answer back that they will not be defeated so easily in this second game. They take us to a game number 3. In all consideration, it is a best of 1 here that has gone down to one last game to decide who goes home and who faces off against SPL opposition.
3rd seed North America, 3rd seed Europe. Game number 3, we couldn't have wrote it any better for an elimination game between these two teams. One final chance to see who's going to move on and join the Hex Mambo, not only in a seeding match, but also who's going to play into the upper bracket to move in towards some of those SPL teams, who gets to play the Glads, who gets to play the Hound, obviously decided later. But we still got one more game to go through, AJ.
Yeah, and if it's anything as 10% as exciting as that last game and the game before, we're all in for a massive treat of a fantastic game of Smite.
Valhalla Valkyries, they took game number 1, but the Wargs command game number 2, and now we go to the all-important and final game number 3. You're not going to want to miss out, so make sure you stick around, because we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Niflheim Wargs tie it up and take game number 2. Still Frog, still Trelly on the desk. and a great set we've got here for game number 2, set number 2. Now pushing to our second game 3 of the weekend. And I couldn't be more excited. I'm not as excited because I'm not biased at all, once again. But the last...
You could be excited. We're even, right?
Right. No. Yeah, I'm excited for good Smite. I like to watch good Smite, and that was indeed some good Smite. I think contrary to game number 1, where we had some back and forth, you found some good engages, you found some positives for both sides. That game felt like it was in the Wargs' hands pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, I don't think that there was too much contention there. I would say, I'm not going to say won from picks and bans, but it did look like the Valks were thrown off their game from picks and bans. I wasn't seeing too much success out of the Vulcan this time around, whereas Krim did so much in game number 1, Sam for Soccer on the Raven. Once again, not as much impact as that Thor. So, considering that all of these things were taken away, it begs the question, what's stopping the Wargs from just doing that again, right? Why not just ban the Giannis? Why not ban the Thoth? And why not ban the Thor? That's going to open up some questions here, because the Valhalla Valkyries, in my mind, look like they've been knocked off their rhythm. They're going to have to find some way back, and one way to do so may be to, number 1, take Rapio off the Baka, but number 2, Cxnnahh on this tier was an absolute menace. So far this tournament, tier has been a very impactful pick, but this was gross.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially that solo kill that we saw him get over in the right-hand side. You can see, though, Rapio definitely having a solid game on this Bakasura as well. And the Ola run. I mean, I know we were both surprised on the desk. I'm not sure that we had confidence in it, but Davey looked so much more comfortable this game.
For sure.
And it felt like the Valkyries did not have the composition as much to trap this Ola run in and really focus out. And as a result, Davey having almost as many assists as his support. He was certainly getting in there helping out with the kills despite not landing that many last hits. But I mean, definitely a full team effort. In fact, even the support is up there in the damage charts. A full team effort, it felt like, from the Warg side. And I am not sure. I mean, I think it was the bans, right? I think the Wargs can come to the table with a lot of different things, right? They looked really good, and they have looked really good on a lot of different picks throughout this weekend. So I'm looking towards the Valkyries because they have like 3 picks that they've really had star performances on this weekend, and that's been the 3 picks that got banned out: the Thor, the Giannis, and the Thoth taken away. And I am not sure what they go back to.
Well, for starts, I do have to highlight what you said, because Davey did look a lot better on the older run. I was pretty harsh on it in the post game for game number 1, rightfully so. He got focused out very hard. This time around, Odin's gone. Oleron gets to stay a little bit safer in the team fight. As you said, those assists do start to add up. So, yeah, it's back to the think tank here for the Valkyries. They do have to consider what they need to prioritize very highly. The Hachiman, which is what they've tried to first pick twice now, I don't know if it was that high priority this time around.
Yeah. I mean, if you're first picking a gun, you have to get what, first pick value is different than third pick value.
Exactly.
Definitely prioritizing that differently. But now the Valkyries losing game number 2, they've chosen to switch things around. So now they're going to be the ones going into this second pick slot, and the Niflheim Wargs are now put in this first pick position. They can go back to the Hachiman and steal it away from Wowy if they want to, but I think on the bans, no surprises there. They are going to stick to those 3 gods.
Certainly are. The question is, what's the change up here? So far, everything's been going as you would expect. The Horus taken away last time, but Tyr, Baka, Horus, possibly a Hachiman. There's a lot that the Valkyries have to take into consideration here. Notably,
wow.
I was going to say, whatever they do ban, they get 2 in return. So they decide to ban none of those things, take away the Oleron, and say, hey, whatever you take, whether it be the Baka, the Tyr, whatever, we're going to get 2 of immediately after. So now, pressure on the Wargs. Are you going to take the easy Hachiman and just let the Valks grab, Bakasura if they wanted to, Horus if they wanted to, or just hold on to that Tyr, which again, I think Cxnnahh had a fantastic performance on. I actually think this is the correct call.
Yeah, I think Tyr's the right play, right? If you're going to be a level down, an XP down in the solo lane, and you get a solo kill under the enemy tower, right, as well as the engages coming through later on in that game, Cxnnahh looked unstoppable on this pick, and I would look to the Valkyries to say maybe they have to switch up their solo lane matchup, and sure enough, that is where they're going to look at the top of their draft as well, going away from the Achilles and into this King Arthur.
Surely, I mean, San Soccer probably doesn't want to play the Bakasura. That's my guess. The Discordia, that is the change-up, though. Okay, I was going to say they have to do something differently, and they do. Make sure GunTTERR does not get his hands on the Disco passive. Make sure that no one on the side of the Wargs is able to use that. I think that's definitely a smart call. Does throw a little bit of a wrench in the Wargs' plans. Of course, they still could grab the Horus, for example, if that's something they wanted to look towards. They still could look to just try and take that Bakasura. But at the very least, the Valks have switched up the narrative. They have not just went for the Hachiman, which is what I kind of expected them to go for. They had to do something differently in mid. They had to get Crim on something, at the very least, that has CC immunity, which the Vulcan did not have. And now also has that leap to try and deal with tier.
It's interesting that they've been banning away the Horus these last 2 games, and when the Wargs have the opportunity to go for it, they just go towards this Yamoja instead, and they go back towards this tier. May have been wasting a ban unknowingly in those first couple of games. But rounding out this top 3 for the Wargs, they will take away that Hachiman from Wowy. On the other side, Davy has to go back to a traditional hunter now that that Ola run has been taken away. And Yamoja, no surprise, this god has seen quite a bit of play this weekend, quite a bit of success as well, if I do say so myself. Will be interesting to see this 3rd pick come out from the Valkyries. Still valuable tanks left up. We do have that Terra available, but Gamma, for the first time, choosing to get his hands on a support before the 2nd phase of ban, so he'll get this Kabrakan.
I do love this call. It doesn't have the greatest matchup into Yamoja or tier, but Gamma in particular just loves blinking in with those Kabrakan walls, right? It's banned away from him so much because of how impactful he can be. And if that's the case, and it keeps getting banned away consistently, just try and prioritize it a little bit more. Sam Forsocular likes to sit back. He likes to say, if we can hold my jungle pick off, unless it's a Thor, of course, then I'll get the counter pick or at least get to see the matchup. So stalling it out as long as possible. Definitely a good read here from the Valks. But now we're in crunch time. Last 2 for both of these squads. Jungle still on the board. The Wargs are going to need a mid laner. And of course the Valks are still looking to find that hunter. I do think that Rama would be a smart ban, but it looks like the Wargs are more worried about Samper Soccer. They said Wowy has been having, you know, an ADC performance where he just stays back in the back line, farms a bit. We don't have to see too much of him. Because of that, we want to deal with who's been controlling the map, Samper Soccer in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good call. He did have a pretty solid game on a Wheelish just the other day, especially that combination when you had Maui being played by Gamma as well. Now, the Wheelish gets taken away in this opportunity. Maybe not as many leaps, but still having the Emoja. They are a little bit worried about it, but jungle picks on both sides as well. Camazotz and Fenrir once again taken away from Rapio. Notably, the Susano still on the board for both squads, as is the Ravana still up for both squads if they want to sort of go back in that direction. I think looking at the Valkyries composition, it will be Samper Soccer, right? And I don't know if he wants to go towards Tabaka. You mentioned that. There's still a lot of picks that we've seen other junglers have success with. Kali is still up on the board. We saw Jangaro have a lot of success with that yesterday, ultimately getting taken down, but we've seen that pick come back to forefront, and a couple of other auto-attack junglers. Sam doesn't seem to really like that style of play, though. No,
I'm looking towards, like, Thanatos if I'm Samper Soccer, just because that's the kind of pick that he would go towards, and I wouldn't be surprised if they leave it till just a little bit later, right? Last pick, if possible, just to try and wait. But the Wargs are going to reveal their hand first, so unfortunately, Sam is not going to have the opportunity to counterpick if they decide to go for their jungle here, maybe. But they left the Bakasura open. That is something that I would not hate to see back in Rapio's hands because of his performance. But they do take away the Rama, and that is what I was saying. Now Wowy's left in a bit of an uncomfortable spot. Of course, the Ishtar is still relatively highly prioritized. I've heard rumblings of Artemis coming back into the meta. I haven't seen it, but hey, that could be a thing. And of course, this is another pick that comes out of left field, but we haven't seen the Whoopid in quite some time, and that's a pick that Wowy was known for seasons.
Yeah, Wowy definitely does have a bit of a god pool here, playing for a long time. So he can definitely reach into the back pocket and pull out something here, especially if it means they get a chance to hold on to that jungle pick and see what the Wargs go towards. On the side of the Wargs, we are going to have to see GunTTERR go towards something a little bit different here this time as well. It gets taken away. That Baba Yaga gets taken away, that Discordia gets stolen from the Valkyries, but even before that happens, it is going to be the Hunter pickup. This is Izanami on the side of Wowy.
Yep, that is going to be great lane pressure. Kabrakan and Iza has some good clear. Of course, Gamma's going to have to watch out because of how much aggression Hachiman and Yamoja can bring to the table, but as long as you're clearing the wave and playing safe, should not have too big of a problem. And with the massive surprise, Bakasura making it through, and of course, the Wargs are going to lock that one in without even thinking. I mean, that was an insta-lock, and I'm assuming the Valkyries knew that was coming, right? We all did. With the performance Rapio just had, there's no reason for him not to be confident. So the question now becomes, what's Sanford Soccer cooking up? He knew he was going to be up against Baka. They saved his pick for last. I even see a smile on his face. So he said, haha, you fell into my trap. Now what? Are we going to see the Thanatos? We see the Mercury, you know, these picks that Sam's gone to. Looks like it's going to be the Hunbats. Another Sanford Soccer special, but not a pick we've seen too highly prioritized this weekend.
A pick we saw win them that best of 3 yesterday after a couple 55 long minutes. So we'll be hoping that maybe this one goes as long, or maybe the teams are hoping they can close it out earlier, much earlier than that, I'm sure. But that Hunbats pick definitely going to bring into question how they want to play these team fights. And the first thing that I'm looking at, you don't necessarily have a ton of beads burning tools outside of that Fear No Evil, right? It's hard to get a ton of value out of that ultimate if everybody has Magi's, everybody has beads.
Yeah, I'm thinking Gamma's going to have his hands full. This Kabrakan's going to have to blink in first, try and get some stuns off, try and pull relics. If not, you know, Phantom Shell is going to be coming into question as well with both of these teams, with the Yamoja, with the River's Rebuke, and of course the Kabrakan walls. But you're right, Sanford Soccer cannot be the only one engaging. He cannot be the only one pulling beads. If so, his time is going to be quite miserable. There is some value in initiating a fight with Fear No Evil, but Sanford Soccer, for my money, he likes to hide in the jungle. He doesn't like to be the first one in if he can wait for the fight to begin, blink in after some relics or some escapes have been used, and then clean up with the Fear No Evil, that just makes your life so much easier. So that means that Aqua and Gamma are going to have to be very far up in these fights.
Yeah, he is definitely a flanker when it comes to the jungle. Him and Gamma both are no strangers to getting in there, making sure that they're burning beads, burning Magi's, just trying to be annoying into the backline. Looking at the other side of the compositions, I was interested in what GunTTeRR was going to pick here. He's gone for this Agni. We've seen this picked a little bit, banned a little bit more, so I thought that this would be a more popular pick this weekend. I'm surprised. Yeah, I feel confident in it, but I'm surprised it's taken this long for it to show up.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to agree. It's one of those picks that was dominating the SPL for a while. It was just very safe to grab. It was like Merlin and Agni, that 1-2 until Baba Yaga came into the mix. Has taken a bit of a back seat here, probably because of that lack of CC immunity, but still incredible range, still incredible zone control. You catch him in the jungle, a good bomb stun could just win you a team fight. I am also surprised that it's taken this long for Agni to appear, but when you get Janus, Thoth, so many bans sent towards the mage category, eventually he's going to have to come out.
Yeah, I think it rounds out their team fight nicely. It rounds out these compositions nicely. Game 3, Trelly, second Game 3 of the weekend. We are pushing it the distance. Neither of these teams want to be knocked out. Both of them want to continue on into the SPL bracket. These compositions round out all 5 gods. Who do you favor going into it?
Oh man, looking at both of these squads, because the Valks are known for going late as of recent. They've been dragging these games out. It does seem like their comp might succeed if they get to that late portion of the game, but I think the Wargs might want to stop them before then.
Well, we don't have to wait any longer. Game 3 right around the corner. We'll throw it over to the casters.
It is elimination game. No more waiting till the next one or 2 games later than this. It is all down to a single game between the Niflheim Wargs and the Valhalla Valkyries. See who goes home and who joins Hex Mambo and jumping up to the upper bracket. It's J-Mac, Alpha Jackal, and Doug back in our final game of the set. Here in only our second set of the day, we still got plenty more explosive Smite to go for the remainder of the weekend, and look how close.
Wow.
The prediction is this time through. It was 60-40 in Game 1, it was 70-30 in Game 2, and now we're sitting right here at a nearly 50-50 between these two teams, and I think they're right to do so. A dominant Game number 1 from the Valkyries, just as explosive for the Wargs in Game number 2. And now it all comes back to Game number 3.
I mean, you heard the desk. They were split on this as well. Undecided. They said that one team had a good way of winning the game. The other team had a good way of winning this game as well. So I'm inclined to agree with Twitch chat that this is a 50-50. My EU bias, though, is saying Niflheim Wargs should come out on top with this. But that's mainly because they've got Connor back on this tier. This seems to have been the pick of the tournament for me. Whichever team has had this pick has just had monumental success.
And not just Connor on the tier, I'm also seeing Predss back on Yamoja, Rapio with the Bakasura again. But To counteract against that, I do love what we've seen out of Sam on the Hun Bats, not just in his performance yesterday, but over the course of his career. This has been a game-winning pick for Sam, one that he's been able to carry not just regular season games, not just any old tournament games, but even world championships on this kind of a pick.
Yeah, we saw it yesterday towards the very end of the game where he had a very niche play where he uses his beads for the cooldown reduction to be able to get the kill. You don't do that unless you're extremely comfortable with a character, and Sam Fasaka proving that he's comfortable in a pressure situation to use it in that scenario. This is a pick which speaks to him through and through.
Yeah, that was one where he finds a pick on the solo laner and then immediately turns it around with a team. Rapio in danger. Sam teleports in, but forced back because GunTTeRR and the minion wave still there to deal some damage back. But this is the combo potential of this Hun Bats, of this Discordia, especially. Throw out that Strife, that first ability after as well with the Unruly Magic. You can get so much early game pressure.
Speaking of early game pressure, Kabrakinen is an army. I don't think you can find any more pressure than that in a early game duel lane. It seems to be that you will get into lane, look at the wave, not even have to get anywhere near it, just look at it, and the wave will like almost clear itself. That's how quickly they can take it down, and it's no surprise to see them take the early game pressure and take the shield buff before the junglers have even had a chance to rotate.
They're going to be stuck under tier 1 tower for probably quite some time until maybe we see these junglers rotate through, or until maybe even just the dual lane as a whole, or at least the supports leave this lane. But as seen in at least our first couple of games and all that this weekend, support's been sticking around for quite some time. GunTTeRR dashes up, but not going to have the cooldowns maybe to try and fight back up against ErupTCrimson. So Crimson will sit comfortably under tier 1 tower, clears out these waves, but GunTTeRR able to now go back to base and get that second tier of his first item.
Are you surprised we haven't seen Crimson go into something like a Ra? Given that he's done very well on the Janus, done very well on the Thoth, two long-range gods. Ra certainly does fit that bill as well, and it has shown a little bit of prevalence in this tournament.
Yeah, it just feels like when we see Crimson on these lower mobility kinds of gods, I'm not saying that Ra has no mobility, he has a lot of movement speed thanks to his passive, but just feels like even with the range that he goes out there, it's the safety more than anything that really helps him out. Granted, Discordia doesn't have too much mobility herself, a very small short-range leap, but similar kind of conversation with Merlin. But I don't know, it feels like when you take him away from kind of complete mobility, it kind of puts him a little out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, well, he's going to have to hope that this is not too far out of his wheelhouse in this game, because this is the final game of this set. If they lose, it's over. If they win, they find themselves playing at least 2 more sets of Smite, one later today in game number 4, and either set number 1 or set number 2 tomorrow, when we do see the remaining half of our SPL bracket start to take place.
Gotta see who's gonna fight up against the Glads, who's gonna fight against the Hounds, and maybe more beyond there. They're putting a lot of damage into Gamma. Gamma gets thrown back by the Riptide, dash in just off the mark with the stun by Davy. But Predss is not gonna give up this chase. Wowy's gonna pull the camp back. And Gamma's going to try and take it back away from them. Drag it as far as you can. Sam is here. Fear No Evil is online. Predss only has 3 Omi left and a Fear No Evil to shove him against the wall. Shell is not enough, and it's the Valkyries with first blood.
Whichever team has got first blood so far in this set has won the game, so good omen for the Valhalla Valkyries as they shut down the invade from Predss, punish him for going deeper than he needed to there. And that's going to be a kill on for the dual lane. Wowy credited with it, but Sam Fasaka making it happen once again.
Just so far up with no Omi to his name, I believe 3, when he was trying to go for that retreat, and he used the last of it to drop out a single Riptide that he didn't even get a chance to use there. Predss a little too far out of position with no ultimate available to him. And a clean rotation from Sam Fasaka gets not just the shell, but also first pick for the Valkyries. And a good sign, as you say, for the Valkyries, getting that first blood starts them off similar to how they did in game number 1. That's the Niflheim Wargs to play damage control.
Yeah, and he also burnt the shell on that attempted escape, so really getting the worst end of the stick there for the Niflheim Wargs there is Predss. Rapio rotating over to this other side, going to eat away the cooldown. No, Aquarius actually secures that as well. Help a little bit from ErupTCrimson and that Discordia passive, allowing him to take that buff. And Sam Fasaka invading some jungle as well. I love to see this. If you're up against a Bakasura, it may be scary, it may get you killed, but you have to try and invade his jungle. You have to stop his accelerated farm.
Rapio gonna have to go ahead and pick up the chest camp. Aqua and Sam here for blue. Rapio's just going to have to give this one up. No chance he's able to walk in and secure that blue for himself. So Sam and Aqua keeping the pressure known on the right side. GunTTeRR dashes in, gets the stun onto Crimson, takes the ultimate away. Rouge Rebuke will lock in Gamma as Crimson is dove on by Rapio. The minions are there to soak up the tower, but Rapio can't continue the fight. Now it's going to be 3v1 to try and get a kill on a Gamma. You got to do something with all this time you've invested. And it's one pick on the support and one kill for Rapio.
They get someone eventually. The beads from Crimson pivotal in getting away from that movement speed slow that is from that regurgitate puddle, and Rapio, unable to continue to dive on the tower, is going to continue this transition over towards this left-hand side, secures the shield buff for this team, and is able to secure that purple buff as well, but still finds himself almost a level and a half down on Sam Fasaka here. This is not bode well here for Rapio.
No, Rapio's really starting to fall behind, and Onabakasura, never a pick. With how fast your clear is in the jungle, with how great your early game presence is, not a great sign from Rapio to start this early game through. Definitely got to see a step up from him and really the rest of the team to keep active here. Aquarius on the King Arthur has done a good job keeping Cxnnahh at bay on the right side, consistently under this tier 1 tower. Has been Cxnnahh on the tier. Game number 1, an explosive performance by him. Even finds a solo kill on the right side that really expedites the pace for the Niflheim Wargs, but now has to play catch up to the Valks.
Yeah, he played catch-up in that game as well. Got that solo kill when it was like level 12, 13. Then he managed to find that underneath the tier 1 tower. Aquarius stayed a little bit too long on that Achilles pick, looking for the execute. But then in that first game as well, Cxnnahh struggled up against Aqua's Odin. Struggling up again against Aquarius, this time on the King Arthur, thanks to the first item he's built. I mean, that item is just going to give you, that contagion. It's going to give you anti-heal. It's going to give you damage to people that attack you. And Predss, hoping that he had some of that on himself.
Need a little bit more damage. Help from the Fury will do just that. Sam finds a nice pickup on the Predss. Couple of ultimates needed from Crimson and Sam to be able to do so. But a great body block up onto Predss. That's now 2 for the Valhalla Valkyries.
Sam is looking for the shield buffer, waiting for Wowy to get over here so we can split that experience. And yep, 2 for 1 reads the kills right now, and the gold looks like it's about 2,000 gold in the lead, 3,000 experience. This is a completely different change of pace of what we saw in game number 1 as well. Valkyries were in command and control in kills and command and control of pressure, but they just couldn't pull ahead in that gold and experience department. This time round though, 8 minutes in, as we saw the graphs, they're starting to pull further and further ahead. Again, it just speaks to me that they have learned from their mistakes in this set, and they've adapted better than the Niflheim Wargs have.
I think the main takeaway is just these side neutral camps, these buff camps, sitting on either the dual lane or the solo lane side of the map. Shield, cooldown, both of those have been going to the Valkyries time and time again, which has allowed them to not only get their lead, but continue to push it as well. Cxnnahh can't even really think to start at the buff, because as soon as he walks around the corner, Sam Fasaka is lurking nearby. Aquarius on this King Arthur himself. He's been making it so difficult for Cxnnahh to even get farm. Multiple times pushing him under tower. Pick onto Wowy would be a great start. River's Rebuke is there. Wowy's taking time. Predss never pulls the trigger on the ultimate. Wowy's able to just walk back. Does cost him his beads. But I've got to feel like you could have gotten maybe a little bit more there should you have used the Rivers.
Right, the second he uses the River's Rebuke, all of a sudden it's the fade away from Wowy, and he's just over the other side of the river. It's not like it's up against the Agni that GunTTeRR has, where the second the River's Rebuke comes up, there is no escape. Some ADCs do have that issue. Hachiman is one of them. Artemis, as the devs pointed out, rumblings have been hearing about her coming back into meta. She would be another one that'll be caught out by that. But not Izanami. Izanami is able to escape that River's Rebuke with the dash. If Davy forces a dash first, then the River's Rebuke comes out to allow them just enough time to kill her.
Spatial play by Wowy. Aqua fighting against 2, uses CC Mune ultimate to dash away. Now shoved up against the wall and probably blocked away from the tower, but Aqua's going to keep fighting back through. Uses a couple of abilities, spins in place against the 2. Cxnnahh and Rapio diving in, but Aquarius still trying to fight back through. Rapio gets stunned under the tower and dash away, but the minions will do the last bit of damage. A kill for the Niflheim Wargs on the right side of the map.
They needed to get something because they've committed heavily over on that right-hand side, and you know what that means? 2 bodies on right. Gold Fury is up for grabs here for the Valhalla Valkyries, and Sam Fasaka is setting up an ambush.
Predss is here. Rivers is up. And now it's 3 versus 4. Fear no evil on top of Predss. The full commit to kill the support. And the Valkyries have done just that. But Gamma's stuck at the Gold Fury and kept it active the whole time. And it's
Teleport
a
in.
1-for-1 trade. Now the teleport comes through for Aquarius, makes it another 3-for-3. Davey on the run. He doesn't have ultimate any longer. He doesn't have a relic to save his life. This time, Sam gets his second kill of the game. 2-0-2 on the Hunbats.
And that is what Aquarius does best. He utilizes that teleport, that extra cooldown from him getting the assist or kill to, well, help get another kill for the rest of the team. Davey falls down there. Gamma only fell down in that engagement because of that Gold Fury passive when you do take damage from it. If it's the regular Gold Fury, you are slowed, and even more so, you are worth a little bit more gold to kill. So Davey definitely getting value from that kill. Unfortunately, he utilizes his escape to do so.
Aquarius making that early rotation through. 1 minute till beacons are back
Try
up.
this again.
Look at the Soul Surge minion going through there. Could maybe be a startup for the Valkyries to try and push towards the Wargs, but with Davey and Predss all the way to the Tier 1 tower, nothing real for the Valkyries to gain, at least in trying a fight there. So stealing away, again, more neutral farm. This is where the Valkyries are now holding on to their lead. They lost out on a little bit of their gold from that trade out, at least over by the Fury Pit, but still able to maintain about a 1,000 lead.
And most of that looks like it's going to be on Wowy, who has that 2-level lead up against his opposing figure on Davey. I want to see what the gold is looking like as well on those graphs, because it looks like it's dipped more so in favor of the Niflheim Wargs. And yeah, you see that graph curve back all the way up. The experience difference is completely even. So despite the fact that Wowy is that level and a half up, the rest of the Niflheim Wargs must be close to a slight level advantage for themselves to be able to get that experience graph looking the way it is.
Yeah, and see Rapio just ticked over to 13. Pred's level 9 versus Gamma's 8. It's only Wowy that's really in the lead for anybody on the Valkyries. Everybody else just right there at the cusp of it as well. Now Wowy stuck on a Tier 1 tower. Well, the Valkyries will go ahead and at least grab the first engine beacon of the game. 12 minutes in and on immediate spawn through, the Valkyries start up with their first stack.
And that was a very free beacon as well. We've seen teams contest it tooth and nail if there's only been 1 versus 4. This one given away there completely. Savasoka goes right in on the mid lane.
Goes in for the blink and a jump after Chase Rapio, but he misses the stun. Or I should say the jump that time. The golden apple bouncing between both walls, but it doesn't go any further forward. Rapio saved by the good grace of his mid and a little bit of geometry.
He must have been thinking, oh my god, that's going to hit me. It's bouncing, it's bouncing, it's bouncing. Please go away. It goes away just before it latches onto him for the kill there. Very unfortunate for Crimson and for the Valhalla Valkyries, but great play. And as you pointed out, fantastic stun there by GunTTeRR.
GunTTeRR keeping his teammate alive. And in a solo lane battle, we saw the veteran of this fight go towards Aqua, really putting the hurt up against Cxnnahh, even forcing Cxnnahh to go so far back as to heal off of a back heartbeat camp just to stay alive in lane for how much pressure is coming through from these solo laners. And looking at the 2 relics here, AJ, it's not even going to be a teleport for Cxnnahh. He's going to have to walk on his own merit across these maps to get to these fights, while Aqua is going to do exactly what he did earlier. He's got free access, that Tier 3 teleport, can jump over at any given time that his team needs him.
Do you think he's gotten the beats just because of Savasoka?
God, imagine so. I see a Fear No Evil, and I see stuff like this level of CC. You got to get some help here. Aqua's going to try and buy as much time as he can. He gets the dash to get away. Goes back towards Savasoka, jukes away from the Lawbringer. And now it's Sam here. There's no ultimate available. Aqua should go down, but it's a miss on the power cleave after. Rapio will chase him out. Aqua goes down, but now Sam could be turned on, but Cxnnahh doesn't have any further chase. Another pick onto the solo laner, the Valks.
He didn't have Fear No Evil available. That diamond's only just got filled up right now. Look at that player damage, by the way. Just a huge spike up from Savasoka. It's fake solo lane damage, isn't it? I mean,
plus Crimson, too. Crimson's helping him do that.
Oh, yeah. Crimson's passive is also helping. Man, that is scary to face up against if you are going to be Connor on that solo lane. But Niflheim Wargs pick up a kill onto Aqua. They shut down the nuisance, the monstrous damage, and they get themselves an ejected to boots, which puts them within touching distance of the gold lead.
Which is wild for Aqua, because he's 0-2-1 right now. His 1 assist was when he jumped in at the tail end of a fight on the left side of the map. Other than that, that has just been damage against the solo laner and Rapio whenever he jumps over to try and go for these 2v1 fights, which he's done twice now, and they've both come up successful. So Rapio's efforts on the right side have proven fruitful for him and Cxnnahh. 3-0 for Rapio on the Bakasura. Very similar start to game number 2, where Rapio, well, it took a little longer to get the 3 last time as a triple kill over on the left side of the map in duo lane at the very beginning of the game once that level 5 mark ticked, but Here, level 15 for Rapio now, still keeping the game going. And a 1v1 against Sam might not be ideal while those beads are still a few seconds away.
No, but he does have that Phalanx available to him to give him 50 physical protections as well as 150 health. It's an item that has seen a big resurgence from when it was first introduced to the game at the beginning of the season, and it's just because it has received a few buffs recently, specifically towards its passive, where it's now giving you a lot of attack speed if you are sort of around minions when they do take damage or die. So I do love the fact that he's picked up this item. It fits in well with the build. It gives you what you want as Bakasura with attack speed, but also gives you that bit more survivability against the danger zone of Aquarius and Sam for Soccer.
Gold Fury started up by the Valks. Davey and Predss are here. Gamma trying to zone. Predss has ultimate. A couple of Riptides to try and create some space. Fear no evil. Just off the mark from hitting Davey. Doesn't even need to use the beads or the ultimate. The Fury gets reset by the Valkyries at the top end as the Wargs have now collapsed in, but Aquarius is in the back line, wants to find Predss, and Aquarius instead goes over towards Davey. The river's up, and shoved against the wall. Aqua has tried to run to his team, but it's the damage from the Wargs to make it a 1-for-1 trade. GunTTeRR caught inside the wall, can't walk away, and Sam for Soccer diving back in, but GunTTRR's got nowhere to go. A killing spree for Sam for Soccer, and Rapio on his own battle on the right side of the map, and Cxnnahh losing out on his beads. Wants to keep the push up. He's got blink. He sees low health bars, but he's got no follow-up.
Rapio's a Bakasura. He's not a Mercury. He's not split push. He's built for team fights. He's not playing low-key. He's a Bakasura. Why is he not here? Why is he not in this team fight? He doesn't even get the tier 2 tower. Wowy falls down because Connor's just playing tier like an absolute animal, but where's Rapio?
Well, he was trying to fight. Not sure if he was able to steal that one away. Actually, he was, so he took a red buff. That's what he was doing. He's taking a tier 1 tower and stealing a red buff away.
Why?
Well, he made it a 1-for-1 trade. I can't answer to you why. It all comes down to what he does after. Draws ultimate under tower. Crimson has to use the Aegis to get away. Now Sam for Soccer walks up, and he'll be able to walk away for now. But it does set up for potential Beacon fight or Gold Fury now, because the Wargs were able to push a couple away. Wowie's still on respawn time. Niflheim Wargs step up to the Fury. And the Valhalla Valkyries don't have much left in the tank to try and get back there. Crimson is too far away. Ultimate would be too far out of range. And Gold Fury goes to the Wargs.
Yeah, that is a free objective thanks to the zone work from Connor there. We see that the Stygian Beacon is going to be coming up in about 30 seconds at most. And this will be the second spawn of it. Don't forget the first one went to the Valhalla Valkyries with no contest coming up from the Niflheim Wargs. I expect this time there will be at least some form of skirmish should both teams come up to the objective at the same time.
And Niflheim Wargs now in control of the game. 1,600 gold up for the Niflheim Wargs over the Valkyries. A complete flip from what we saw just at the beginning. But the Valks again will get another uncontested beacon. The Wargs not wanting to step up towards this objective, or maybe just backing at the wrong moment to try and do so. So another 6 minutes, we'll see this beacon come back up, and then shortly after that one, we'll see a fight. It's GunTTRR gets clipped by the apple, and the Aegis not there to save his life, nor the beads. Now Predss stuck by the wall of Gamma, but Cxnnahh's here to shove Gamma right back under the tower. Nowhere for the Kraken to go. A 1-for-1 trade to even out the kills.
Mid laner for support, but the support definitely did not need to die there. I mean, Gamma was still pressing down on his tremors when the rest of the team was already backed off, and it was for good reason. Connor was lurking around the corner, waiting for a fearless target, and he found one. Very optimistic pickup at the Pyromancer there from the Niflheim Wargs as they back off, but a good strike forces Predss and Rapio to back away. I think this could mean the objective goes the way of the Valhalla Valkyries.
Valkyries will start up Pyro. Rapio looping around. He's got ultimate. No ults from Sam or Crimson. Cxnnahh goes in with the ultimate, but doesn't find anybody himself. But it does force the Valkyries away from the Pyro. Aqua goes in. Davey now forced up on the horse, and the Pyro once more to the Valkyries. This time none of the Wargs able to get in, and it's Pyro for the Chaos team.
Davey with a very odd play there. Dashes onto the Pyromancer in front of the rest of the Valhalla Valkyries to try and take that objective, and pays for it by being forced to use his mounted archery in a position where he's by the rest of his team. Yes, it's an ultimate, so it's not on a huge cooldown like Beads or Aegis would be, but again, if the Valhalla Valkyries look for a fight in the next minute or so, that utility teamfight ultimate is going to be off cooldown.
About to see how safe Davey can play. Gamma lurking around the left side of the map. wants a kill. Has blink, can go through, but won't elect to use it. Sam a little too far away. Wowy not in position. Maybe recognizing that Davey also could have both of his relics up. Not willing to make that commitment that far into enemy lines for a pick. But instead does open up for a tier 1 tower. Wowy can't take that. He's got a full minion wave joining him, so some pressure now added to the left side of the map. With that Fury down, with Pyro down, still will be another minute before we see action for an objective.
Yeah, that is going to be the tier 1 tower in left-hand side, falling by the wayside. That is the second tower of this game. Rapio on that bizarre split push when the fight was happening over on the left-hand side. Did manage to get the tier 1 over here on the right. Looking at the tower health, the next one to fall down should be the left-hand side tier 1 for the Valhalla Valkyries. But then again, all it takes is one good team fight for a push to happen and a couple towers to fall down at this stage.
Did you see how close that gold was when we pulled up the chart after tier 1 went down? 21 minutes in, it was a 5 gold difference between the teams.
Crazy.
That is as close to even as you are going to get this late in the game. Even the experience still only slightly up for the Niflheim Wargs at this part of the game. Most of that coming from the jungler Rapio. Just now hits level 20, has that Odysseus bow online. Can upgrade that starter once he has the gold to do so. And I think the most important part, kind of looking here at the damage charts again, we looked over at Aqua earlier. He was 12,000 up. Next was him, 6,000. Aqua has not been able to get nearly as involved in these fights the last couple times, and now the rest of the map starting to jump up there with him. Sam still, again, still 5,000 damage behind him, but it's nowhere near the significant gap that Aqua had earlier on.
Yeah, it's no longer just poking somebody out for free for, the first 15 minutes of the game. He actually has to work and find his damage in the back of these fights now. Gold Fury started up once again. Wrapping around the back is Aqua, but again, it's too little too late. The Primal Fury goes the way of Niflheim Wargs, and now it's a full-on retreat.
GunTTeRR finds a stun on Aqua. Cxnnahh, Lawbringer's in, but doesn't find anybody. Switches over into Assault stance, and it's just playing zone duty. The Niflheim Wargs got the objective. They don't need this team fight. It's the Valkyries who want to take the fight with still time left before the beacon spawns back in. The Wargs, they're going to go back in. A push on a Gamma only. Aqua now a little bit far back. Davey and GunTTeRR pumping out damage, but it's not enough. GunTTeRR still chopping away. Rapio takes out Aquarius. Gamma on the run, surrounded by 5, but they just make it out stunned. Connects on to Wowy. He has to use the Aegis too, and Rapio picks up a double kill. Now Sam joins the fray. Fear no evil will clip through to Rapio, who's still fighting back in. Sam can't get enough. The shell is there. It's a triple for Rapio. The Wargs are striking back.
And that triple kill puts him at 6-0. Sam, you can see the frustration on his camera as it pops up there on the bottom right for you. But that shell, beautifully timed there by Predss to keep his jungler alive and get his jungler that triple kill. But that is a team fight where anybody could have got the triple kill there for the Niflheim Wargs, as all of them played their part.
The most important part about that is using the shell not just for what you would assume is the only intended purpose. You see a phantom shell come up, you say, okay, they're saving that for when Gamma drops an ultimate and then they're good. No, Predss says, we don't need that. We just get a shield from it. I'm going to keep my ally alive, and now we're going to set up for the Fire Giant. The Niflheim Wargs, it was close earlier on. The Valks had fought themselves back through into this game, but the Wargs might just firmly swing the door wide open with a Fire Giant at 23:45. The Wargs not only fire, 3 kills, but a Pyromancer as well.
And like I mentioned, that left-hand side tier 1 looked like it might fall down next, but with a full 5-strong contingent with Fire Giant, this mid-tier 1's not long for this world. In fact, that's going to fall down soon, but Gamma blinks right in.
He tries to go for the ultimate, but he gets stopped by Cxnnahh, not able to trap anyone in. Cxnnahh able to get away. Sam only gets to teleport onto 1. Riptide pulls Sam back, forces the leap, and the bomb's done after. And the Niflheim Wargs able to bail each other out and sets up for the beacon. The third and final one may just go to the Wargs. They've got all the pressure in the world under this mid-tier 1, and they can summon up that Titan to get the next part of the siege going. Likely to see that one spawn here in the mid lane with so much structure still left available. Titan now ready to march down.
And it's going to march down that mid lane as that beacon was taken up, as all 4 towers and 2 Phoenixes were up in that mid lane. So obvious candidate for the choice for the Titans. We're going to get your favorite mode, Assault, coming back into Conquest at this stage of the game. But have a look at the consumable slot, by the way, for Predss, both of which are occupied by runic bombs. He needs to dump one of these if he wants to be able to buy any wards for his team. So yes, he does have the advantage where he can take out a tower by himself or even a Phoenix, but he loses the utility of being able to get vision for his team.
Now we will see the Wargs grouping up in mid. Minus Rapio. He's playing the lone agent on his team. Wasn't there for the Gold Fury earlier on in the game. Instead, split push to the right side, wrapped around, got a red, then got Fury with the team. Now has moved all the way over to left to split push. See if he can force the hand of the Valkyries. Send somebody to that left side to deal with Rapio to see if anybody will stop this split push. But no one on the Valkyries has moved over just yet. No one willing to maybe stop this SMITE, and that's going to give Rapio a potential path into this next fight.
Yeah, looks like he might even stay over towards this tier 2, take down yet another tower. Hey, if you're a fire giant, nobody comes over to stop you, might as well just continue pushing. At least wait until this teleport is forced away from Aquarius. But looks like...
Is it for free?
Yeah, looks like it's going to get it for free. In fact, the Chaos Titan is also driven back for free. And look at the split. Look at the chaos which has just been sown into the Valhalla Valkyries squad. We had Sam back, Aqua back, Wowy back, and they don't know where they're going next.
Wait, Cxnnah in the backline? What is even happening? The Valkyries are just giving up everything right now. Aquarius able to get away. Sam used the ultimate. And the Monkey Toss hits a few. But that's 2 massive ultimates used against the Wargs. And the Wargs have gotten 3 towers from this one. I should say they've at least gotten 2 off of this push. Rapio takes everything on the left-hand side. Mid-tier 2 goes down to the pushing Titan, which will now be driven back to the order side of the map. But Niflheim Wargs, they made it look easy. They didn't have to give up anything for it. They just walked up and said, thanks for everything on your side of the map. We'll just take a Fury as an extra bonus.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be 2 minutes left at the Fire Giant around their waists. And now it's just going to be a minute left, sorry. And it's just... they get what they need at this point. They expose the Phoenixes. I always say, with the Fire Giant, your first one, make sure you expose at least 2 Phoenixes, if not 3. Your second Fire Giant, take down a Phoenix if you can. Take down a second Phoenix if possible, but just 1 will do. On that third Fire Giant, when it's going to be enhanced, that's the one where you end the game. That's a successful push where you're not overexerting yourself, and you're not giving the opposition team too much room to fight back to you.
6,000 up for the Niflheim Wargs in gold, 6,000 up in experience for the Wargs, but that experience mattering not, because it's only the support's not at that level 20 yet. The Wargs started out strong, a good push back from the Valks, but now the Wargs in control of this game. Fire Giant up in just under a minute now before we see this one crash back through, but the Wargs have already set up the offensive positioning around the pit. Sam nowhere nearby, he's dealing with some camps to the left. We've seen a lot where Sam, where other players, other junglers will sit in the mid lane, try and force the hand of somebody over there. Cxnnah's not an ideal target for Sam until those beads are at least back up. Could be an option for Sam, but Cxnnah's been playing so aggressively on this tier. Game number 2 was a driving factor, and here in game number 3, he used it to push up for tier 2.
Yeah, I don't think Cxnnah's an ideal factor, even if those beats are down. I mean, look at the damage mitigation which he's got. The second that Fear No Evil drops, it's going to jump up by 15% thanks to that Spirit Robe. All those protections on top of him as well. Yeah, you'll probably take down half of his health from Cxnnah. But then he's just going to go all the way and just say, hey, I'm going to heal up, I'm going to be back with my teleport.
Aquarius gets his dash stop, picks up Cxnnah, but now sets up for the rest of the team to collapse in and drops before he even gets a chance to leave the fight. Cxnnah, 3rd HP lost, but he'll be able to sustain that one back up thanks to himself and Predss. Sam does have ultimate. Could find the wraparound, but Rapio is going to keep eyes on Sam, who's not going to be able to get into this fight so easily. He'll clear out a minion wave, but the Wargs are right back on fire.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the Discordia passive being on this King Arthur seems to be a detriment to the Valhalla Valkyries. You'd think that they want it on Sam so he can go in and engage a bit more easily, or on Crimson so he himself can do the damage that he needs to be able to burst out some people as a mage. But no, it's still stuck on Aquarius, and Niflheim Wargs aren't fighting the Valhalla Valkyries enough to dissuade this buff away from this King Arthur.
Wargs have 3 runic bombs in pocket as they push up to the tier 2 on right. 3 Phoenixes left to go. They don't need to use a single one of those bombs at this tier 2. They can save them all for the Phoenix pushes after. Sam uses his to help push out a tier 2 tower just as that fire goes down. Try and help out the Valkyries, get them a little bit of that global gold. But the Wargs are the ones with a stranglehold on this game. Power spikes now coming through as everyone goes back to base. Power potions picked up by a few different players. Rapio on this Bakasura, man, it has been a problem for the Valkyries to deal with. Cxnnah on this tier has been an issue for this team. And Predss, yeah, he's been a menace on the emoji. They got a few picks on him early game, but it is hard to take out this Umoja late.
Yeah, the Umoja is one of those gods that will always be able to do something in that late game. Tyr will always be able to do something towards the end of the game and in the late game. He didn't even need to be put this far ahead or on the pedestal that he has been put on in this game. He will just build that himself, and then, as pointed out, Rapio, 7-0-1 on this Bakasora. Had a slower start compared to what he did in game number 2, but there is no doubting the results.
North America now on potentially their last defense. The Niflheim Wargs have taken all towers off the map. It has been nothing but EU dominance across the board for the last 3 major tournaments that the SCC has jumped in. 2 of them made it to Worlds last time. 2 of them might just be making it to Week 2 of Masters. Gamma's going to try and slow this down as he blinks in and throws out the wall. Gets out the Phantom Shell to start the fight. They get a major defense away from the Valks. Or I should say from the Wargs. But the Wargs didn't need to use any of their ultimates. Predss can sit here, double Runic Bomb the Phoenix. No chance the bird survives. Sam goes in with a Fear No Evil. A pick on Cxnnahh would be great, but there's just no commit. The Wargs take a Phoenix in left, and Rapio himself will take the Phoenix in mid.
Just silently pushes the minion wave into that mid. Phoenix says, thank you very much, my bomb will take care of this. And that's 2 Phoenixes for the price of 1 there for the Niflheim Wargs. And the Valhalla Valkyries, 0 answer there. I mean, they almost managed to kill Cxnnahh. You wouldn't think so with his HP where it is right now, by the way. Look at it, it's almost back up to full.
What's that? Fire himself, Umoja, yeah, health potions too. There's no stopping Cxnnahh. He's 2-0-6. Rapio 7-0-1. The driving factor for the Niflheim Wargs in these last 2 games. And looking to close it out here in game number 3. The Wargs are just a few minutes away. 1 good team fight, 1 potential maybe final Fire Giant or final dance for the Wargs to try and take out the Valkyries, knock out North America's last hope moving into Masters. And Wargs, a win here would seal the deal and put EU firmly at the top of the amateur scene.
Yet again, by the way, as you mentioned, 3 tournaments in a row where the EU SCC has come out on top. And you know, we've been speaking in the back room consistently about sort of picks and bans, which ones have stood out, which ones have really faltered flat. This tier pick has been my pick of the tournament so far. I mean, every single team that's had this tier pick has just done wonders with it. I mean, he's had a 64% win rate, so even in the games where he has lost, he has still looked good. He's still looked almost untouchable as they push in for this 3rd and final Phoenix.
Gamma's already lost a 1/3 of his HP, and that's before the entirety of the Wargs even group up.
Well, let's go to his
the right-hand side. Now the Phoenix under fire. Davey pumping autos through. Rapio versus Aquarius. Fear No Evil. Oh, walls all over. But Gamma, he's so low in HP. Cxnnah's got a Lawbringer out as well. But Rapio, look how much damage he's done to Aquarius. Aqua can't even stand up to a single Bakasura by himself, while the rest of his team is only barely defending up against the Phoenix. On the right-hand side, a few more autos will do the deed. All 3 birds down for North America. Cxnnahh all the way to the backline. He was nearly dead moments ago, and now he's still pushing back. GunTTeRR takes down Aquarius, and it's just Sam on the left side to defend.
Yeah, that is 1 down, 4 to go, but it's all 3 Phoenixes. That's what matters here, and they're sticking around. The Niflheim Wargs they know they're backing off now, because look at this, the Enhanced Fire Giant. That's going to spawn in less than a minute's time at this point. They take that objective. It is all but game over here for the Valhalla Valkyries. They can't contest this, though. They have 3 waves of fire minions to defend.
Looking in the pocket of Rapio.
Oof.
Elixir, Power of Potion, 34 minutes in, and Crimson can only answer with a single Potion of Power himself. Fire Giant, Enhanced Fire Giant at that. Niflheim Wargs, no contest from the Valkyries. Nobody can step up to take this one out. Gamma could only dream of finding a steal opportunity, but as a lone Cabrakan, not much he can do. The Niflheim Wargs have taken a firm control in this set the moment they step into game number 2. Now looking to close this one out here in game number 3. Enhanced Fire Giant on all 5, and a regrouping by the Wargs. They can go for their final push.
I would love to see the damage mitigation stats right now on the left-hand side, simply because there's one thing I want to look at. 60,000 coming out from Cxnnahh. Big drop of about 12,000 to Aquarius, and then another 12,000 down to this Cabrakan. You wouldn't think that this Cabrakan would mitigate that much damage given his build doesn't scream, I'm tanky and I'm mitigating everything. but that Shadow Zone passive is what allows him to build into this hybrid bruiser frontline build that he's got.
We'll have to see if it can pay off in this next push. Connor to mid. The entire team pushing up mid. Left side Bird back. Middle Phoenix now respawning, but 25% health is not much. With an enhanced fire giant on the hunter of the Niflheim Wargs. Kana steps forward. Monkey Toss does a lot to GunTTRR's HP. This is the 6 stack, the 6 item strong of what a Hunbats can do. The Valkyries need one big defense to keep the Wargs back and maybe try and keep their push alive. Predss goes in. Sam with a Fear No Evil on top of 3. Gets a lot away, but Sam's already at half. Kana is low. The apple only hits Predss, and he's going to soak up that damage with absolutely no problem. It's a reinitiation. Rapio goes in. Aquarius is gone. Gamma has no chance. It's a double for Rapio. Europe is holding firm with a couple of birds left standing and only 3 left to the Valks to defend.
Just need to stay focused, stay calm. Don't rush it at this point. Sam, not going to teleport it because it does not have to fear no evil. Just utilize the Fire Giant healing. Utilize this Emoji healing. Just keep all the tools in your target. GunTTRR dashes in!
Wowy half health. He's forced out. Rapio still charging forward. The River's Rebuke are there.
Still on
Europe
cooldown.
has commanded the amateur scene for 3 tournaments straight. North America, no chance in hell they're making it through. It's the Wargs and Mambo moving ahead.
Wargs, they told us that they felt like they were the #1 seed in Europe. They struggled through this match, but in game number 3, they've done all that it matters, and that is claim the victory in a 2-1 fashion.
Niflheim Wargs, their only drops this weekend so far have been a single game to the Valks and a set to Hex Mambo. Well, now they get to see if they can bring this one back for themselves as they meet Hex Mambo one more time for a seeding match to see who moves on to face against the SPL. With a performance like this, the Wargs have got to be fired up for this rematch.
Yeah, they are warm, they are feeling it, and what's more, they're in a positive mood here. I mean, you don't want to play 2 sets in a day. No one really does want to, but if you're going to have to, this is exactly how you want to do it. You want to end it on a high and just continue that momentum into the next set.
Big win for the Niflheim Wargs. They eliminate the last hope for North America in this portion of the bracket. They move up with Hex Mambo. They still got to see which of the 2 is going to move on, at least on the upper seed of that bracket. That's it for me and AJ here on the cast. We'll throw it to the desk to break it down.
EU reigns supreme, and we will be running it back with the Wargs and the Mambo just a little bit later today. Congratulations to the Wargs, and they really turned it around. They had the reverse sweep after game number 1. They buckled down. They said, hey, we're comfortable in this sort of composition. We're going to try and run it back, hold on to what we're comfortable with. And in that last game, they looked slow, disciplined, and they took it home.
The adaptation to P's and B's was the big lookout for me. I think that, unfortunately, Sam was not able to capture that same magic after the Thor was taken away. Crimson, after his fantastic performance in game number 1 on the Thoth. Also, you know, the Vulcan just wasn't doing it for me, and this time around, just a little bit different. The Wargs, man, what a set. Those longer style games where we thought maybe they'd be able to end just a bit earlier, but with so much on the line, I do respect that the Wargs took this one just a little bit slower. They made sure to get their picks, their Phoenix Sieges. They never overcommitted. They didn't, you know, just go in too deep, have a throw and back up. They were just getting their picks slowly but surely, and I think that was exactly what won the day here.
Yeah, and even after an early positive start from the Valkyries, and they were in the lead earlier. You saw Sam for Soccer, I think, had a pretty decent start on this Hunbats, but Rapio came alive on this Bacchus-Sora. I think 7+ kills at the end of the day. I think he might have went deathless in this entire game. Just him and Kana as well combining to, once again, that's what the Wargs have found success with all weekend long, is this solo jungle combination dive where, you know, they just make room for their backliners to cast for free, put out the damage. GunTTRR with the Agni on this pick looked fantastic as well. And I think J-Max said it, they are going to be fired up going into this rematch later today.
And as they should be, right? I think momentum is a big deal in tournaments like this. They're able to go off a fantastic set here, a 2-1 win, and then use that to go into their next set up against Mambo. But I'm still amazed that Rapio got his hands on Baka again so late in the draft. Remember how it went in game number 2? We were talking about it. Kana had a standout performance, gets the tier. Just interesting plays throughout. And of course, the Wargs, as you said, staying confident. There were some nice stat lines on the side of the Valks. Sam for Soccer got active early on, but just was not able to do enough. and it's EU that gets to win the day once again. The memes will continue, and I don't think the Twitter drama will stop.
Yeah, I think we definitely will hold on to that. And now it's the 2 EU teams, no matter what, that are going to be trying to make it in to this large form SPL bracket. In fact, they've already made it into the large form SPL bracket. We'll see if they can make to the quarterfinals, going up against either the Hounds or the Gladiators, depending on how that seeding match goes later today. But we get to hear from the winners themselves. We've got J-Mac standing by with Cxnnahh for an interview.
That's right. I've got Cxnnahh, solo laner for the Wargs, here with a post-game interview. Cxnnahh, walk me through this set, man. A bit of a heartbreaking loss in game number 1, a dominant game number 2, and then you get another big tier game here in game number 3. I mean, how does it feel finding a big win here in this set?
Yeah, it feels great. It was like it was looking rough after game 1, and even game 3, they had a lot better early game, so I was worried about that. But yeah, we knew when it was getting into late, we had it covered. And I got carried game 3. I did nothing, so we'll take it.
I don't know, man. Some of those plays you were making, especially around that Titan push, at least at the 25 or so minute mark, that blink to the back line, looking real strong from you there. Talk to me kind of about the drafting, maybe mentality up against this team. We've been seeing a lot of focus over towards the ErupTCrimson, maybe a little bit of Sam. Was that kind of the mentality after game 1 to find that switch up for the last 2?
Yeah, we just found them gods problematic in the first game. We just took them out and found it a lot easier.
Yeah, now talk to me a little bit about your next opponent up, which will be HexMambo. A tough loss to them earlier on during this week, a tough loss to them during the regular phase. You think a win today and then facing them later off maybe kind of gives you a nice little kickstart into that matchup later on?
Yeah, we talked about it quite a lot last night after the loss, so we've got a good plan, and we're feeling confident now after that win.
Any last words for the EU doubters out there in chat now that EU has dominated another tournament through?
EU on top, baby.
EU on top. Congratulations on your win. We'll see you a little bit later on in your set.
Thank you.
We'll throw it back over to Des. Keep it going.
Thank you so much. You heard it there from Connor. EU on top, baby. I'm sure everybody out there on the EU side is feeling good about things, and they just gotta bring it back to the Coaster Vest. Play it, a little bit stronger, and I think they've got the motivation to do that.
I got to say the confidence of the team kind of admitting, yeah, we already talked about the Mambo matchup last night. They're like, yeah, we're gonna win that. Let's talk about what's gonna come next. Let's talk about Mambo after we win. So definitely show some confidence there.
Well, we can take a look how the SCC bracket rounded things out. We are now all the way towards the end of this bracket. It will be HexMambo and the Niflheim Wargs that are going to be headed up towards our larger bracket with those SPL teams. And that's going to finish it off with one more matchup later today. HexMambo, Niflheim Wargs going to be our final matchup, match 4. For the day, a best of 3 to determine seeding, and that seeding will determine how they fall into that larger bracket versus the Gilded Gladiators versus the Eldritch Hounds. The winner of that matchup going to be going against the Glads, and the loser of that matchup going against the Hounds to enter into this larger bracket. And I think nobody is going to be just trolling. It's just a seeding match, right? Nobody's getting eliminated. But I think even if it weren't on the line, that you get to play a little bit better or a little bit worse SPL team, even if that weren't on the line, the little bit of fire on Twitter that we saw last night, I think both of these teams are going to want to take away the win in this last set of the day.
Yeah, I would argue that it's still very important, of course. The Hounds and the Glads, very difficult teams to try and go up against. We got to talk in waiting room about what SCC teams we thought could even compete up against the SPL level.
Yeah.
It is a big divide, and I think that both these teams, the Wargs and the Mambo, need to prepare for that, but at the moment they still have each other to think about, right? So seeding still on their minds, and I think there is still a lot of prep to do. As Cxnnahh just said, there's stuff you can do the day of, right? Go back to the hotel room, watch some games. There's a lot of different drafts and matchup situations they might have to run through in their heads.
Well, we still got plenty more SMITE action for you. Coming up next, it's another SPL matchup. The Styx Ferrymen going up against the Atlantis Leviathans. Stick around after the break.